EoJ.
Hello Starbearers, this is GeoStar7 here with another reaction video. Today we're going to be looking at Turnabout Theatre Episode 2, the second entry in the My Little Pony Ace Attorney crossover series, Elements of Justice. So yes, we are now back with another installment of this fan-made series. Last time we looked at the first investigation portion. Today we're going to be looking at the first trial. And so just a quick recap of the story. Twilight Sparkle has summoned Phoenix Wright back to Equestria because she needs his help with another murder case. By accident, she's also brought along Apollo Justice, Athena Sykes, and Trucy Wright because they were holding on to Phoenix when he was being teleported. So now they're in Equestria with him too. And after a quick reunion between Twilight and Phoenix and letting his friends know what was going on and how it was when he was in Equestria for the first time, after all that, it turns out that it's actually Rarity who needs the help because the murder took place at Bridalway Theatre in Manhattan, and it's actually Rarity's friend and fellow designer Coco Pamel who's been accused of the crime. So they've been down to Manhattan, they've spoken to Coco, they've investigated the crime scene, they've been gathering evidence, and now the day has come for Phoenix to defend Miss Pamel in court. So yeah. And I will say this is going to be very interesting to see again because a lot of people do consider the trials to be the main highlight of the Ace Attorney games. Like there's the heated exchanges between the defense and the prosecutor. There's unbelievable twists in the story. Like some of them are just so genius. Like they can really leave you speechless sometimes. And there's also all the logical deductions and the different mechanics that they find out, different bits of information. There's cross-examinations, there's emotional outbursts. You know, it really is just the pinnacle of the writing and also the animation as well. Like, honestly, the investigation portions of this series are good, but it's the trials that are absolutely phenomenal. And like I said, they really are the highlights of not just the Ace Attorney games, but also Elements of Justice as well. Another thing worth mentioning is that this is actually the first video in the series to have a team of people working behind it. Because as I discussed in episode 1, this all started as a passion project by one person, TheAlJavis. He was just determined to make a sequel to the hugely popular Turnabout Storm series by the Neo Artemis, but he also wanted to make sure that the quality was on par, if not better, than what had been done in that series. Like, he didn't want to cut any corners. Like, if he was going to make a worthy sequel to that project, then it would have to be the best he could possibly make it. So he got his hands on all of the computer software he needed, he got in contact with people who agreed to be his voice actors, and he just started putting together his project in order to make it a reality. And after years of setbacks and so many edits, he finally released the first part on YouTube back in 2019, and the response was just astronomical. Like, so many people just congratulated him for making such a high quality video, and they praised him for like never giving up. And it was just incredible just seeing what he'd been promising us for years finally come into existence. You know, it really was an incredible moment. That said though, he realised that there was an issue. Because it had taken him so long to release just one part, TheAlJavis knew that if he was going to stand any chance at all of completing this series, he needed to get help. He needed to reach out to other people and ask if they could help him with the project, just so that the production could just speed up speed up even quicker and actually give him a chance to actually finish it. And, you know, he was hesitant at first because, you know, he said himself he didn't really see himself as, like, a leader. He didn't want to be, like, a boss telling people what to do. And you know, he just really didn't think that many people would be interested. I mean, he was just a random guy with this little animation project. Like, he didn't really think there would be anyone who'd be willing to actually come and help him. But he could not have been more wrong, because like I said, there were so many people supporting him from the sidelines. They were really just pushing him to actually bring this project into reality. There were just so many who were just as passionate about the project as he was. And so when he did reach out and ask for help, he had dozens and dozens of people get in contact with him and offer up their skills. Like, they were more than happy to help out. And before long, he had editors, he had animators, he had sound engineers, basically everything you could ask for to have a solid production team. And apparently, from what I've heard on some of the commentaries to these videos, the influence that they had was immediate, and it had immediate benefits to the actual production. Because let me tell you just this little story. So one of the script editors that TheAlJavis hired, his name was Serenity. He said he took a look at what TheAlJavis had written for the next video, that being this episode that we're going to watch, and he said to him, he had to tell him flat out that what he had read was not good. Like, not only was the script too short, but also there were issues with the story and some of the characters and everything. And, you know, he told TheAlJavis that if the episode went out as he had written it, then, like I said, not only would it be too short, but there was a real possibility that fans of the series would feel let down. Like, it would just feel so anticlimactic, and like they might feel like the wait wasn't worth it. Like, this isn't what they were hoping to see after all these years. You know, it was harsh criticism, to be sure, but ultimately TheAlJavis knew Serenity was right, and so they started working together to rework the script. So like I said, so it would be longer, and also so they could improve things in the story as well as with the characters, giving them more personality. And so in the end result is this video. So we're going to be able to see what having a group effort can really do to improve the quality of a video. So yeah. But before we get started though, I do have to remind my viewers that this will be a reaction for me. I have already seen this episode before, but it's just that I never had a chance to record my initial reactions to it. This will change once we get to episode 6, but for the time being, I'm just going back over all of the episodes that I don't have recordings to, and I'm just going to be rewatching them and just giving you some commentary on what I think about the writing and the animation and other things as well, and really just letting you know just how it was that I felt when I first saw it, when I first saw it for the first time. Anyway, before we get started, let me just change things up a little bit. There we are now. And as you can see, I've got the camera this side this time, just so maybe it doesn't block so much of what you're seeing. I'm sure it will cover up some things sometimes, but I will make the necessary edits like when I do post this video. So anyway, I've got this all set up now, and let's go full screen. Right, okay, here we go. Starting the video in 3, 2, 1, play. Here are the Manhattan District Court, Defendant Lobby, number 2.
I never thought I'd come back.
And of course the layout is set up similar to how it is in the games, with the door to the courtroom and the picture that's above the sofa.
Why's that?
remember what Athena was talking about yesterday? That was our last case, and that was well over a month ago.
Ah.
Oh, well, I'm sure there's no need to worry. You were disbarred for 7 years, like you said yesterday, but you've still taken on plenty of murder cases.
By the way, I should say, these scenes and the ones that were in the investigation portion, they are actually an improvement over what happened in Turnabout Storm, because in Turnabout Storm, the investigation portions in these scenes, they were all just static images and with very limited animation. Well, no animation actually, but yeah, but as you can see in these scenes, they have like proper animation and lip syncing. In Turnabout Storm, the animation and lip syncing was only during the trial portions.
Gotta start somewhere.
This is so cool! We're about to watch Daddy defend in court in a whole nother world.
And of course, like I said before, the human vectors do look a little bit.
Contain my excitement.
They don't look very high quality, like compared to Twilight, because obviously they're taken directly from the games and they don't blend in well. But eventually they would make improvements where they would blend in there. Like they made proper character vectors for this.
There's something I've been meaning to ask you.
What is it, Apollo?
You mentioned that murder is nearly unheard of in Equestria. The first one to supposedly happen was for the case where Mr. Wright defended Rainbow Dash.
Yeah.
How advanced can your criminal laws be if such serious crimes rarely, if ever, occur?
Apparently, they're nearly identical.
Yeah,
to
this
ours.
again,
I
like.
remember Twilight saying something like Equestria's.
Yeah,
judicial
that this
system
was
inspired by
mentioned in Turnabout Storm.
right.
That's
I've
why
read many books on both
humans and human law,
law,
and even the layout of the of these buildings, like they were inspired by human architecture.
Is practiced very similarly, and what influenced
Like-
the designs of nearly all
Yeah,
Equestria's
that's
lighthouses.
literally what I just said.
Well, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, as they say.
Yeah, as they say.
Hey, boss.
What's up, Athena?
I was just wondering, who's gonna be your co-counselor for the trial? I don't see anyone else who would be up for the task, and we don't have the right badges.
There's no need for
I
that.
figured it'd be best to go with Twilight. She was my co-counsel during Rainbow Dash's trial, after all.
That she was.
But doesn't she need an equestrian attorney's badge to be allowed to stand in court?
Yeah.
Nope. Since I'm a princess, I can stand in court without the need of a badge.
Wow, that's
But weren't you
that's very, like I say, that's very convenient.
How could you be Mr. Wright's co-counsel if you weren't a princess?
Yeah, what was the explanation?
Well, since I was Princess Celestia's
Yeah,
secret,
so they're trying to explain it.
I had no experience in how Equestria worked. So we made an appeal to the Equestria
Ah.
High Council to allow me to be there to assist him.
Yeah.
I know you.
It's
both
true,
know
like
but
Twilight
playing it
wasn't
safe
able
from
to
this
defend
policy is
Rainbow
our
Dash
best
herself
option.
because she
Twilight
didn't
by my
have
side, we've got
she didn't
someone
have a
who knows
badge
the
in order
rules
to
of this
do
game
it.
like the back of their hand. Hoof.
I gotcha, boss. Oh, speaking of Miss Palmel, she's here.
Here we are.
What's up with Coco all of a sudden? She seemed fine yesterday.
Good morning, Mr. Wright.
Morning, Rarity.
And yeah, as I mentioned in the first part, like between episode 1 and episode 2, quite a few of the voice actors were changed up. Like I think Athena's and Twilight's and
Me to see her looking like
quite
that just
a few
before
others
the
as well.
trial. So I thought I'd steal her away from the guards with a little pony charm.
So in other words, you seduce them to into doing your bidding.
I'm afraid I haven't been able to get a single word out of her.
This place is in some serious trouble if someone genuinely dangerous is ever trusted to guards like those.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a fair point.
Hey, Coco. How are you holding up?
Yep, silent.
She's really out of it today.
Oh, the poor thing. The trial has her worried sick.
I guess that's
Yeah,
understandable.
like you're putting your livelihood in the hands of someone else,
All right, Miss
and if they don't
Palmel,
do a good
you've
job,
got nothing to
you could be
fear.
found
You're
guilty
innocent,
and
Daddy here will prove it.
and
He'll show everyone that you had nothing to do with Overall Concepts murder.
yeah, and you'd suffer consequences for something that wasn't that. Oh, and look at this animation here,
Darling, it's okay.
like the bobbing of her head,
I know how much you cared about him.
like she's really upset with
I'm
overall
sorry.
concept's
I
murder.
didn't mean to.
She was upset because they were really close.
It's fine. Darling, there's something stuck in your mane.
What is that?
Yeah, because like usually all the evidence and stuff, it appears this side, so that's why I've shifted the camera over. It does occasionally happen the other side though, so I will have to do some edits like I said.
Oh, Coco! How dare they allow you to stay dirty in detention? Especially in your state.
Well, actually, as it turns out, this would actually be...
Can you give me a second?
This would actually be very useful to them, that she still had things on her during the trial.
The trial begins. Of course.
Yeah, look at the animation in her eyes and how they're shaking. That's such a small detail, but it's really good.
Well, you would know. Okay, Rarity. If you'll excuse
Oh
me.
yeah, and she just said like you should go rest over on the couch, and Rarity, she really knows a thing about couches. Like her whole thing is having a fainting couch. It's the worst possible thing that could have happened. Like so many times in the show, like she would literally just have a fainting couch at the ready. And even in Equestria Girls, like her human self actually had one as well.
Rough.
It's something I wouldn't wish on anyone, and it only makes it worse that she's accused of
Apparent from what I heard in the commentary, originally, if they had been able to, the animator would have wanted to like have Coco Pamel there on that bench behind them. Like they would actually have her character vector just resting on it, because like they're saying to rest on the couch and yet she's not there. But yeah, I mean it's a small detail, but like they said they definitely would have had it.
Does that make him?
Oh yeah, and they're saying who the prosecutor is. It's in this case it's
Yes. In fact, his name is
Prince Blueblood. Oh, and Rarity, she absolutely.
Excuse for a stallion?
Yeah, if you've seen the if you've seen like the season 1 finale
You're still on bad terms with him then.
and what happened,
Bad terms? Oh, I've never met a stallion whom I've had such high hopes for. Only to have them come crashing down.
he completely
I'm still on
subverted
bad
her
terms with him.
her expectations. Like he treated her absolutely horribly
Rarity,
at
I'm sure
the
he's just doing it for the experience.
at the Grand Galloping Gala in season 1.
Why him? I swear it's Celestia. He better keep that horse's mouth shut about my little Coco. Or I will show him what it truly means to be a royal pet.
Yeah, like he is the epitome of a
Hey, getting hostile.
pompous,
How about we go join
arrogant
Coco on the couch to calm
arrogant
herself
prick, if I'm allowed to say that.
down.
Like, oh yes, like I'm high and mighty. I can get away with whatever I want. I can say whatever I want. And yeah, it's like people like those who really need to be brought down a peg.
just as dramatic as ever, isn't she?
You don't know the half of it. That screaming almost rivals your cords of steel, Apollo.
For real. She's about as soft as a marshmallow at first glance, until you anger her and she comes at you with the fire and intensity of 1,000 suns.
So,
Soft as a
you're
marshmallow.
saying
I suppose
that
that's
she
another
turned
dig
into
at
a
her being.
roasted marshmallow?
Yeah, see, they're making digs at her being a marshmallow pony. That is such an old
It
meme.
makes me hungry. I wish I have some words with me.
S'mores.
Twilight, what did you mean just now when
That
you
reminds me
said
of that
this
line in Toy Story
Prince
2.
Blueblood is doing this
It's
for
cooking delicious hot
experience?
schmoes.
What could warrant someone like him?
They're called
prosecuting
s'mores
the case?
buzz.
Well, he has royalty. Like I said, he's probably using this murder trial as an opportunity to gain some trial experience.
Yeah, see.
After all, if you're ever going to rule a kingdom in Equestria, you're going to need extensive knowledge on the law and how to uphold it. As a matter of fact, I've been studying a lot
In some other
about
forms of
studying
media, it's actually
myself.
debated whether or not
No
Prince
kidding.
Blueblood
How are you
actually
finding
is like
It's been so
related
enjoyable.
to
I can't tell you how
Celestia.
amazing it has been.
Is he
Putting
really
all the laws
her?
at
Is he
our
really
place.
his nephew?
So it's
Is
like an
is he
exam
really
then.
her
You
nephew?
study, then
And
the
then it's
girls
what,
you
and
take part
it's
in test
even
how much you've learned
Twilight's
and what the rewards they're after.
sister-in-law, Princess
Like the one
Cadence.
Miss
Like she's
Blueblood guy is
apparently
taking part in today.
Celestia's niece, but like how is that meant to be
Even more
possible?
pleased that I'm doing it.
I certainly don't remember my law school experience being so fun. I'm envious.
I hope I'm not talking over any
So,
important details
based
here.
on the
Like I say,
location
it's a
of
good
your
thing that they
castle,
still have the
Does that mean Ponyville
text
is technically
boxes
your
that you can
kingdom?
read.
I wouldn't exactly say that. It's just a place where all my friends live, so I figured why not have the castle there too? Again, the castle sort of grew.
Yeah. Yeah, like we're going into
Built itself?
yeah, we're kind of going into
I even want to know how
like
that's possible.
like season it's
A lot has happened.
yeah, we're going into season 4
You
finale
transformed
territory
into a
here.
unicorn, became
Yeah.
a princess, and now you have your own castle that apparently built itself? I thought my life was crazy.
Yeah, and it grew from
life
a magical
really
chest
got
with
turned
six
upside
six keys, which were unlocked with the power of friendship, and then it planted itself, and then grew the castle.
As much as I'd love to talk about what's been happening in Equestria, we have a trial to take on. I hope you're ready, Phoenix.
Ready as I'll ever be.
Good luck, Mr. Wright.
We'll be cheering you on from the gallery.
Break a leg, Daddy.
Thanks, everyone. All right. Twilight, let's head inside.
Right behind you, Phoenix.
Go. And look, they even had this animation of the doors opening into the courtroom. And they've even summoned the judge from the human world.
The prosecution has naturally been ready and waiting.
The defense is ready. Your Honor!
Yeah, this is something similar that happened in Turnabout Storm as well. Like, he was shocked to see the judge from the human world in Equestria.
What? Wait, why is the judge here?
Oh, wow. Hiya, Judge.
Mr. Justice and Miss Sykes? Is that you over there?
But yeah, like,
Your Honor?
in Turnabout Storm, he was summoned to help with Rainbow Dash's
Seems as
trial.
though Mr. Wright's brought the whole gang along.
And now he's been summoned
What
to
exactly
help
is
with
going
this.
on here?
Oh, did I forget to mention that I summoned the judge here again?
Yeah, you did.
Yes.
Look at that mouth there.
Sorry. There's just been so much going on. I guess it just slipped my mind.
Right.
But hey, it is a nice surprise seeing him again, right?
Even the judge is more aware of what's going on here than I am.
And he is a fair and impartial judge. Like, he handled like
So,
Rainbow
why
Dash's
did you summon
trial
him again?
very
I thought
well.
You said Princess Celestia is the one who usually presides as the judge.
Apparently
Was
that's
this another
true.
decision made by the High Council?
No, I just thought you'd be more comfortable having a familiar figure presiding, much like before. So, I put in a request to summon him again, and the court agreed. Besides, your judge loves being in Equestria.
Yeah.
He stayed a while after you left last time, you know?
Yeah, he did.
Apparently, he really wanted to see the Summer Sun celebration. I knew he'd jump at the chance to come back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very thoughtful of you, Twilight.
And you can see all these different ponies in the background filling up the gallery. Like, you can see Fluttershy, there's Surprise, which is a recolored Pinkie Pie. That's a very well-known fan-made character.
Well, they were kind of dragged along, so they had no choice.
If I may interject, may we cease this chit-chat and get on with the trial already?
Oh, of course. My
Yeah.
apologies.
There would
Mr.
be improvements made in these ones as well. Like, the judge would also would also blend in more with the
Yes,
environment.
I am like no other prince.
How is his head blowing like that?
Oh, great.
And like
Another prosecutor who looks like they're going to ensure an unpleasant experience.
like
That being said,
Phoenix's
what are you supposed to be?
character vector would be
Me?
improved as well.
What am I supposed to be? My name's Phoenix Wright. I'm Miss Pommel's defense attorney.
Ah, so it is you then. The famous Phoenix Wright, the human lawyer who served as the defense in the TS5 incident?
As in Turnabout
Sounds like our
Storm.
legal system isn't the only human
So
being
I-
he's imitated.
Yeah.
The trial that
Can't remember what that's they sort of use that coding for certain trials in the games. I can't remember what the 5 stands for. But yeah.
I suppose it must have been big news, considering the circumstances.
I must say, it was an impressive victory, especially since you proved that there wasn't even a murder to begin with. Unfortunately for you.
Even the lip syncing would apparently improve, because they started using a new software where it would actually match up with the audio a lot better, like almost by itself, like it's sort of like an artificial intelligence of how they. Like, I'm getting technical here, but yeah.
Is something I am simply incapable of doing.
Just ticking every box on
Yeah.
how not to make a good first impression, aren't you?
Oh yeah, trust me, he's gonna get worse.
Now, I think it's about time we got on with the trial. Will the prosecution please begin their opening statement?
You can see that symbol with Luna and Celestia
Here we go, Phoenix.
in the background as well.
Took place in the Bridal Way Theatre, located in the heart of Manhattan, where the play Henny of the Hills was being performed. I have a promotional poster for the play here.
Yeah, Twilight and her friends went to see that play
Oh,
once
this
in
looks
the show.
interesting. I'll have to get a ticket to the next show as soon as the trial is over.
Unfortunately, Your Honor, that will be impossible. Due to the obviously unforeseen circumstances, all future showings at Bridal Way Theatre are on hold. And besides, the show in question was completely sold out 7 hours before the play even started.
Wow.
The last ticket was bought by the defendant around noon of that day. You'll be hard-pressed to find an opportunity to buy a ticket, let alone actually manage to see the play.
Oh yeah, you just like making it.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah, you're rubbing it in, aren't you?
I don't suppose there are any other sites in the city I could catch while I'm here?
I've heard that there'll be some sort of race here soon.
Now this line, it's actually referencing a future case where it will be centered around that
My
race.
brother is, though. He's been...
If you don't mind, Your Honor, I'd like us to get back to the case at Hoof.
Oh,
The judge has a brother, apparently.
Yes, of course. My apologies. Please continue, Prince Blueblood.
Thank you, Your Honor. The victim in this case is Overall Concept, who worked as the head costume designer for the theater. Allow me to present his autopsy report for your perusal.
It seems as though the victim was unconscious at the time of his death. It's at least comforting to know that he didn't suffer.
Indeed, Your Honor.
Yeah, you don't feel pain when you're
The victim was
unconscious.
unconscious when he died. I'd better remember that detail.
As for the defendant in this case,
I will
that
admit,
would be
the
victim's
character
assistant,
vectors on the
Mr.
humans
Pamel,
are a little bit more
who joined the
distracting than I
theater
remember.
several months ago. On that fateful night, Miss Pamel and Mr. Concept were in the dressing room.
Right, okay, the dressing room's being covered up here, but I will make sure to do some edits
This is
there.
likely how glitter found its way to the victim's forehooves, as stated in the autopsy report. Around 8:50 p.m., Miss Pamel attacked Mr. Concept in the dressing room. Attempting to save himself, Mr. Concept fled, but Miss Pamel gave chase. The victim ran up to the catwalk that runs above the stage, with the unsuspecting actor still performing below. It was on this catwalk where the defendant caught up to the victim and mercilessly attacked him once more, knocking him unconscious with a blow to the back of the head. Wasting no time, she wrapped a noose around the unconscious victim's neck. With the other end of the rope tied to the catwalk's railing, she pushed his body off the edge and hanged him in front of a full house of 5,000 ponies.
It's quite a big theatre for like 5,000.
Word! What a cruel and horrible way to die!
I wholeheartedly agree.
And he
Your Honor.
really believes that Coco
Hold
Pamel
on a
did
second.
that.
This is just pure speculation.
Exactly.
What makes you think my client is the killer? She and the victim were good friends.
And you think the fact that they were friends is enough to let her off the hook? Nonsense. I expected better from you, human.
If your case has as much evidence as your opening statement, it might as well be enough. I expected more than just pure speculation from you, Mr. Blueblood.
Prince Blueblood.
Yeah, he's gonna keep
And for
keep
your
saying
information,
Prince,
none of this
Prince,
is,
Prince.
as you say, pure speculation.
Yeah, he's gonna
Not
explain
only
the
do I have
motive.
physical evidence to back up my claims, but there is a decisive witness who saw the whole thing take place.
Oh, well,
The witness
actually.
he's talking about must be Playwright.
Right. And allegedly, he saw Coco chasing Overall up
Yeah,
to the
they established the motive a bit later,
Let's
I
hope
just
he doesn't
remembered.
say anything too conclusive before you even get a chance to fight back.
Please call this witness to the stand, Prince Blueblood.
Of course, Your Honor.
And yeah, he's a slightly redesigned playwright.
Witness, state your name and occupation for the record.
The name's Playwright. I'm the director of Broadway Theatre. My job is to make sure that all of my plays are nothing short of masterpieces.
Your passion for the craft is duly noted, witness. Now, is it true that you saw the defendant chasing the victim 2 nights ago?
Yes, it is. I couldn't stand their loud hoof steps.
I think I'm hearing a slight different with his audio compared to the other characters. It might be something to do with the microphone he's using.
It truly is a shame that your play was interrupted by such a horrific tragedy.
I can see his head shaking a little bit as he's doing that. Like this is still early animation, as I said.
It would be my pleasure.
This is it, Phoenix.
Let's hear what he has to say.
Let's just get a look at the shot here. There's yeah, you can see Derpy. There's Final Scratch, Lyra, Rarity, Fina's there, and there's lots more.
The stage, watching my play being performed.
There's even. Hang on, I'll explain in a minute.
Chased by Miss Pommel up the catwalk. I tried to ignore the disturbance they were causing, but then I saw Mr. Concept hanging right above center stage. I ran up to the catwalk immediately and saw Miss Pommel looking down from
all of these black and white images, by the way, like when they were designed, the guy who made them actually did them in color. Like TheAlJavis said, like he just wanted some black and white images. Like that's all he intended. But yeah, he was quite happy that they did them in color, and he actually showed them off at the end of part 3 just to show them in all their glory.
Besides, you can't pronounce Coco Pommel's name properly.
Well, well, like I said, she didn't either in the first part.
Anyway, all we need to get the ball rolling is a contradiction in his testimony.
Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.
Yeah, so this is the first bit. Like he literally, like what happens is he listens to everything he says and tries to press him a little bit further.
Watching my play being performed.
Hold it. Here we go.
What was this play about?
It's about a mare named Hinny. She's an orphan who's determined to find her parents, who she was separated from at birth.
Oh? How'd they get separated?
And he's just asking about the play.
It's an incredible tale of
Destruction.
Do you mind? Some of us are still planning to see this play when the showings resume.
Yeah, so
You try to spoil it for me. Not to mention, the plot is absolutely
it's true, but like even they made me want. He was making it sound like an interesting story, and it almost made me want to be able to see it.
To know how it all ends.
Me too.
So, you said you were watching from the left side of the stage. Didn't the chase happen on the right side?
Oh yeah, here we go. This is some theatre technicality.
No, I was on the other side.
But you just said you were on the left side.
No, stage left.
Do you know anything about the performance?
Yeah, I explained. I think I explained this in the last part. Like when you're on stage and looking out to the audience, you're on. It's called stage left and stage right. But obviously, if you're looking at the audience the other way, it's the left and right.
In the business, I can tell.
Yeah. Thanks for the advice on a career choice I gave up on nearly 15 years ago.
Yeah, and so apparently Phoenix Wright took drama at one point.
On the ignorant side when it comes to stage terminology, let me give you a little lesson.
Oh yeah,
they were running through the stage left wing.
Yes.
But it's also called the house right wing. You call it stage left if you're looking at the audience from the stage, and you call it house right if you're looking at the stage from the audience.
Yeah, I think he explained it a little bit better than I did.
Because I'm usually behind the curtains.
So is it left
yeah,
or
he's
right?
still getting confused.
If it makes it easier for you, I'll go with your version and call it the right side. Does that make you feel better?
Yeah, so we're talking about the audience perspective.
Anyway,
and we're going by the diagram that they're showing. So
from the audience?
The chase started on the right side, which would be the perspective from the audience.
Personal during a performance. I want to make sure that my performers are at the top of their game.
Are you saying that you aren't confident in your actors to give it their all?
Oh, of course not! My performers are among the best in the business! Or they are now, at least.
He strives for perfection,
to make sure that my plays
just like I do sometimes.
Perfection.
I see. So, no mistakes at all, then?
Not one. Everything went flawlessly up to the second act. we were on track for a perfect performance if it wasn't for what was happening backstage.
Yep, now we continue.
Suddenly, I saw Mr. Concept being chased by Miss Pommel up the catwalk.
Look, now he's saying Pommel, even though it's
You saw
Pommel.
Miss Pommel chasing the victim? Weren't you watching the stage for any potential screw-ups from your actors?
Well, I had no choice but to look. Their obnoxiously loud hoof steps were distracting me from watching my play. It made me want to find whoever it was and scream at them, but it was during the show, so I had to keep quiet. I did complain to my stage manager, though. He was standing right next to me during both acts of the play.
His stage manager was with him. I suppose that gives him a solid
that is quite a good
Were there any
detail.
breaks during the play?
Yes, one. A 15-minute intermission between acts 1 and 2.
That's usually
And
traditional.
what were you doing during that time?
Overseeing the stage hooves work. They had a lot to do to get ready for the second act, you see.
What did this work entail?
Well, they had to completely clear the stage of all the props, as well as any debris that would cause problems for the actors on stage. Mainly tripping hazards.
Yeah, it has actually happened in some of the
The intermission
dramas that
started at around
I've
8
seen and
o'clock
taken
and
part
it
of where
ended at
there
8:15.
was
The
slippery
second act would have run from
substances
then
left
till
on stage, and it
9
almost
o'clock
caused
if
some
we were all
injuries. I
having
remember,
Did you see
but they were able to deal. Like you have to be,
Actually, I did.
you want to be able to clear it
came on
up,
stage
but make
briefly
sure
to
it's done
discuss something
subtly,
with me. And then he left right before the
so it doesn't
intermission
ruin the
ended. He
production
said
of what you're
he
seeing.
and his assistant had to start working on coating a new sheet of fabric and paint.
What did you two talk about?
That's a private matter.
Ah,
It has nothing to do with this case.
no, you
I
can't
assure
do
you.
that.
You're not the one who gets to make that judgment, Mr.
That's
Playwright.
true.
Tell us what he wanted to talk to you about. Remember,
They
you're under
they
oath.
need any kind of
Please
information,
tell us what you discussed with the victim.
and the judge agrees.
It was just something related to the fabric. That's all.
The fabric?
Yes, I asked him to make a special fabric for the next show we were planning. He wanted to confirm the details with me.
That must be the special fabric he told Rarity about in his letters to her. Did you see him again after that?
Not until the chase, no.
Even though the two of them met, it would have been before the time of death. I seriously doubt anything could have been done to throw that off, given the state of the crime scene. I guess this means Playwright can't be the killer. And when did the
There
chase
goes-
occur again?
There goes that.
It was near the conclusion
potential.
of the play. I'd say it was probably around 8:50 p.m.
The time of death is estimated to be between 8:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. This all lines up perfectly with the prosecution's case.
Which way did you look when you noticed the victim and my client?
To the right, of course.
So is the stage in
Ugh,
that direction?
he still can't get it.
Forget it.
Even I'm getting.
I'll just show you on the diagram.
Yeah, see, we're going by
I
the
was watching
diagram
stage
here.
From this side, and I looked in this direction to see what was causing all the ruckus.
So, you were facing the dressing room then.
Yes,
How exactly did you know it was them? Isn't the backstage dark during the play?
yes, but not pitch black. I was able to make out their silhouettes. Not to mention, they were the only two ponies who were on that side of the stage.
On that side, does that mean there was someone else on the other side of the stage?
Yes, the stage hooves I mentioned before. They were all positioned at the right, or rather left if we're going by house terms,
Yep.
wing of the stage.
How long have they been there?
They were there throughout the entire first act. During the intermission, they came on stage to clean and prepare for Act 2. Then, they returned to the left wing for the second act.
And you can see some of the text is shown at the top of the screen, just so they can show some specific things on the diagram down below.
Left their post.
Action.
Sorry, human, but that's impossible. The stage hooves were all interrogated after the incident. They claimed that not a single one of them left the right wing during the second act. I assume your next proposal is going to be that all of the stage hooves were in league with one another and plotted to murder overall
Come
concept
on.
together.
That seems
Yeah.
unlikely. We better look for other possibilities. No, it isn't.
Pity. I was looking forward to putting you down even more.
Oh yeah, he's admitting
But
it.
I would like Mr. Playwright to clarify exactly how he knew the figures he saw were Coco and Overall.
It was pretty dark, but I could make out a little of their faces. Miss Pommel looked a little scared yet determined. She was chasing a stallion who was running for help after all. As for Mr. Concept, he looked very angry.
Angry?
Hey, I don't blame him. He'd just been attacked. By his partner, no less.
I'd be more scared than angry if some pony was attacking me.
Yeah.
Good point. Let's see what other little tidbits we can get out of Playwright. Maybe he'll let something slip that we can use later on.
Yeah.
I tried to ignore the disturbance they were causing, but then I saw Mr. Concept hanging right above center stage.
Hold it.
There was a disturbance?
The hard hoof steps from them on the wooden floor were already bad enough. Mix that with a rattling catwalk and that loud clang.
Ah.
That's enough to ruin a play as it is. Not to mention that
Now
horrific hanging
that
happened not
that
even a
loud
minute
clang
after they
is
ran
something
by.
that's actually going to be carried forward.
How
Like,
do you think?
because we keep hearing references to there being a metal clang,
Horrified,
even in some of the later trials. So I'm suspecting it's part of something, but they bigger, but they haven't really revealed it yet.
So I went up to that catwalk, and I was shocked at what I found. I ran up to the catwalk immediately and saw Miss Pommel looking down from where Mr. Concept fell.
Hold it!
I'm trying not to give
And how did
like
Miss Pommel appear when you
specifics,
saw
too
her?
many specifics, so
She
that it
looked
would give any
unfocused,
kind of
as if
spoilers.
she couldn't believe what she was seeing. As soon as I saw her, I could tell. Miss Pommel pushed Mr. Concept off the catwalk with the noose that had been prepared.
Wait a minute. You're claiming that the noose had been prepared before the chase?
Honestly, just look at the poster. You can see it right there as plain as day.
So it's not
I can see right
intended to be
through
like
human.
a noose.
You were planning on asking, why would the defendant have prepared a noose on the catwalk if she was never planning to go up there? An argument befitting a monkey such as yourself.
Well, this monkey's quick on his feet.
Yeah.
So, this noose was already lying on the catwalk at the time of the crime.
That's right. It was supposed to be used during the climax of the play. But I certainly didn't plan for that kind of climax.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel better, it's a twist ending no one will ever forget. When exactly was this noose prepared?
It was during the intermission. That was another task the stage hooves had to complete before the second act, on top of clearing the catwalk of any debris. I can assure you it was done flawlessly. I went up there just as they were finishing to check it myself. The noose was ready, and the catwalk was spotless. From that point on, the stage hooves were positioned on the left side of the stage, and I was on the right side with my stage manager.
Did the stage hooves report anyone going up to the catwalk during the second act?
They did not.
No.
Along with none of them leaving their positions, not a single one has made mention of seeing any pony go up or down the stairs, leading to the catwalk after the second act had begun, even after the murder had occurred.
So, it's a classic locker room murder then. Are you sure that you saw no one else while you were up there?
I'm certain. No one else was on that catwalk besides Miss Pommel and myself. She was standing right above where Mr. Concept was, pushed down from.
Did you see anything else on the catwalk at all?
Well, there was a small pile of glitter and a glitter-stained fabric roll next to Miss Pommel. But I didn't pay them much attention, really.
Glitter-stained
Yeah. Sometimes the smallest details
When we
can.
went to investigate the theater yesterday, we only saw the pile of glitter.
Yeah. Sometimes the
That
smallest
would be because the police
details
already
can reveal
removed it for
something.
examination. I have it right here. It was found exactly where the witness said it was in his testimony.
I say, Prince.
Yeah, he's insisting on being
Do my
called
eyes
Prince,
deceive
not
me,
like
or does
Mr.
that
or
fabric roll have
Prosecutor.
several splinters sticking from it?
It does indeed, Your Honor. It would appear as though this roll has seen its fair share of use over the years.
Something about that fabric roll doesn't sit right with me. And what did you do after you found Miss Palmel?
Well, I had to make sure she didn't try to get away, so I stayed on the catwalk and called out to my stage manager standing below to cancel the play and call for the police. They arrived relatively quickly and arrested Miss Palmel right where I found her.
But how did she respond to you? You must have said something to her when you walked up there, right?
We didn't actually say a word to each other.
Huh?
Really?
Miss Palmel just started
Ah.
crying. A lot. I felt bad for her, but I was certain she was the one who murdered Overall Concept. So instead of asking her anything, I just kept watch and let her be
Yeah,
until the police
she was crying
arrived.
because she was upset about
A classic case of crocodile tears to garner sympathy.
Crocodile. Oh,
Any
crocodile
criminal
being.
would do to make themselves
Crocodiles are
appear
crocodiles
innocent.
in this world.
Your directing skills must have helped you make that flawless judgment. Good on you, witness.
Yeah, she's.
Thanks.
Yeah, but
Although I
no,
have
she
to
was
give her
crying.
credit, she sure made them look real.
Yeah, exactly.
That's because they were real.
Yeah.
She had just lost a friend, and the first thing you assume is that she's the one who murdered him? I'd be upset too, if I were in her horseshoes.
Oh, yeah.
As you can see, this witness has given a remarkably solid testimony.
Oh, it's hard from
I do
solid.
hope you'll spare us all any further embarrassment, human.
A solid testimony? Well, wait until you see the crack in it, as I'm about to split it wide open.
Here we go.
Any closing remarks, witness?
As much as I hate to believe it, Miss Palmel must have been the one who killed him. I can't see anything else that would suggest otherwise.
Objection! There it
Are
is.
you absolutely sure about that last part, witness?
Yes, nothing else was out of place.
Well, if you ask me, that's far from true.
What? Are you calling me a liar?
Not necessarily. It could be that you simply failed to take something into account.
I'm sorry?
He failed to take something into account, you say? Humor me, then. What is it you claim the witness did not give proper consideration?
That would, of course, be this fabric roll.
The fabric roll.
Mr. Playwright, when you saw Coco and Overall run by, were either of them holding anything?
If they had been, I would have mentioned that in my testimony. I'm not in the habit of making such a simple mistake as that.
Right.
In that case, how does the prosecution intend to account for this?
Stop talking in riddles, defense. What is it that you're trying to say?
Playwright has stated that he did not see Miss Palmel or the victim holding the fabric roll during the chase. We've also established that no one else went up or down the catwalk from the time the second act started to when Playwright ascended to the catwalk after the murder. The testimonies of both Playwright and the stage hooves confirm this. If this is true, then where in the world did the fabric roll come from?
It's a small thing, but it's a contradiction.
What?
Like, it could potentially prove that there's a third party involved.
Nice one, Phoenix.
Our first contradiction of the day. Now, let's start turning this case.
Objection!
Huh. Is that all you've got, feeble lawyer?
What do you mean? This is a serious contradiction.
I have to agree with the defense here. How could the fabric roll end up on top of the catwalk if neither of the parties that went up there were carrying anything?
I believe I have an explanation, Your Honor.
Right.
Then please go right ahead, Prince Blueblood.
Witness, when you saw the victim being chased by Miss Palmel, how far ahead was he?
Well, he'd already started climbing up the catwalk, so pretty far. If I had looked a second later, I probably would have missed him entirely.
So,
There you have it.
he didn't see, he wasn't able to see him
afraid I
clearly,
don't
so he
understand.
couldn't make out
Then
if he
allow
was
me to
carrying
explain in a
anything.
manner that even a commoner such as yourself can follow. The fabric roll was brought up to the catwalk by Overall Concept. Since he was ahead of Miss Palmel, and was already partly up the stairs to the catwalk by the time the witness took a glance at them, it would make perfect sense as to why he would miss this detail.
That does seem to explain it. I imagine it would be rather difficult to see something.
But why
like
would
that
he carry it
while
up
it's
there?
going on, especially in the dark.
I couldn't agree more, Your Honor.
Well, there goes that contradiction. Now what?
Don't give up yet, Phoenix.
There's other
Really?
things.
I think we still have some room to maneuver. There's something that Blue Blood hasn't established yet that demands an explanation.
Oh yeah, now it's
You're
here.
right. Good thinking, Twilight. Prosecutor Blue Blood.
Prince, please.
Whatever.
Prince Blue Blood. There's still something vital to this case that you've yet to establish.
And that would be...
A clear
A
motive.
motive.
It's been mentioned before that the victim and the defendant were very close friends.
Exactly.
What makes you think that my client, of all ponies, would want to kill him?
Oh, you really want to know? I'm afraid you'll regret asking that question, human lawyer. Your Honor,
Yes, Prince Blueblood?
the prosecution would like to call the defendant herself to the stand.
Oh.
Objection! What are you planning to have her testify about?
Don't worry, it's nothing she'll need to plead the fifth for. All she needs to do is tell us about her living situation.
What? How is that relevant to this case?
Prince Blueblood, I too fail to see how the defendant's living situation could possibly be of any
Well,
use
you're
to
gonna
us.
find out.
If you'll allow me to present this testimony, Your Honor, I guarantee I will be able to establish its relevance to the case at hand. Unless, of course, the defense has so little faith in his own client that he's frightened he'll lose if she testifies.
Yeah, right.
What? How dare...
If that's the case, I can request that this trial be brought to a swift resolution if you'd like. The prosecution has already made it abundantly clear that the defendant is the only one who had the opportunity to murder the victim. These extra bits of testimony and evidence will only serve to chip away at your fragile ego.
He has even more evidence. If we could see that,
Yeah.
then perhaps we could use it to turn this trial around. But first...
There is a
we're gonna
way
have
to
get
take
through
your
this
opponent's evidence and work
Well, Mr.
it in
White,
your favour.
You wish to have your client testify? It could be very harmful to your case if Prince Blueblood can establish the relevance he is claiming.
Do note that should you choose not to have her testify, I will call for a ruling.
Oh, look at this.
Trial will
That.
end here and
Oh, that was that.
Phoenix,
That
what do we do?
animation
We
there,
can't
that
have her
was
testify, we're
not
gonna
the
lose this
best.
trial.
Like with his eye and everything. Like even they
It's not
admitted
like we
that
have
that
much
was
choice.
that they could have done that a little bit better.
What if she says something that makes things even worse for us? We can't afford to take any more damage to our case.
I know it's risky, but Blue Blood said he still had some more evidence against Coco. If we can force it out of him, we should still be able to save her. The defense agrees to the prosecution's request, Your Honor. Let's hear the defendant's testimony.
You've dug your own grave, human attorney.
Very well. Let the defendant take the stand.
Please state your name and occupation for the record. Defendant, quit your useless pouting and state your name and occupation.
Don't you dare yell at my
Oh.
friends, you pompous jerk!
Rarity.
Order in the court! Will the pony in the audience please refrain from screaming at the prosecution?
Yeah, you can't do that in court.
Rarity, now's not the time.
I mean, he doesn't like the fact that he's. Yeah, she's really timid right now.
Miss Coco
He doesn't need Prince. She doesn't need Prince Blueblood right.
Yes, was the
She doesn't need her
assistant
shouting at her
costume
now,
designer
right now.
Broadway Theater.
Now then, please testify about your current living arrangements in as much detail as you can manage.
Okay.
Poor Coco. I hope this isn't going to be too much for her.
And look, you see that orange pony up in the corner there. That's actually Wobnya, which is rainbow backwards. She appeared at the end of Turnabout Storm as like an inside joke. Like Pinky suspected that Rainbow Dash had a evil twin called Wobnya, and it turned out they actually existed.
And even offered to let me live with him in his apartment.
Yeah, I shouldn't be talking over this
Much
testimony.
better
Sorry.
keep it to me, it seems. I don't know what I'm going to do now that he's gone.
Oh, what a tragic story. I think I might be tearing up.
Don't be fooled, Your Honor. This is merely her psychological
Like,
manipulation.
he's seriously
at work.
accusing her
She
of
may appear
that.
to be grieving on the outside, but on the inside, she's deviously dancing in delight.
Yeah, hey, come on.
Your Honor, this is slander.
Objection sustained. Prince Blueblood, I will not allow comments like that in my court.
Yeah, good for you, Judge.
You commoners and your bleeding
Look, see, he
hearts.
thinks he's above everyone,
Right.
including
You
the
may
judge.
cross-examine the witness.
Coco didn't mention any of this to me yesterday.
Yeah.
I wonder why not. No use thinking about it now.
Yeah, I think it's because like when TheAlJavis wrote the first part, like there was none of this, like, and that's why she didn't mention it to him. But yeah, when they got the script for the second part, Serenity did suggest like there needed to be more, so they like, and there was a
Never
reason.
had a place to call your own.
And like she was a little distrusting of like sharing all the details, so that's why she didn't mention it.
Rarity, overall, my parents, and even my old mentor.
And yeah, so like basically it's taking lemons and making it into lemonade, like taking the fact that she didn't say anything before and actually making it fit in with the story.
Took up a job at the theater, thanks to Rarity.
I hope that makes sense what I'm saying.
Oh no, of course.
Basically, they took advantage of her not giving a lot of detailed information and working it into the fact like she was reluctant to share that information.
I'd like to achieve something that had been delivered to me on a silver platter. Something that I at least played some sort of major role in.
I see. Then perhaps you...
Objection! I grow weary of your stalling tactics, human. You are her attorney, not her therapist. You're here to cross-examine the defendant, so I suggest you get on with it.
She's going through a lot of emotions right now, buddy.
Objection sustained. Please continue with the cross-examination, Mr. Wright.
I've never been that wealthy, so that was all I could manage until I met Overall.
Hold it! Did you really have so little money that you could barely afford a place to live?
Yes, especially after I quit being an assistant to my mentor. She always made enough for both of us with my...
Oh.
with the designs she
What was that she was about to say? And
Yeah.
what about when you became an assistant costume designer at Bridalway? Did you make more money then?
Yeah, this
No,
is
I
a
was
detail
only an
that's
assistant,
worth
and an
exploring.
apprentice at that. The director, playwright, didn't trust my skills enough to give me any work worth paying much for. If it wasn't for Overall, I'm sure I would have had to quit that job for a better paying one elsewhere.
Yeah, so she's always been struggling.
So,
She
Overall was able
could
to support
she
you
could barely
and
afford
himself.
somewhere to live. She's always had other ponies like supporting her.
Not only that, but his designs fetched pretty high prices outside the theater as well.
Was he really that well known?
Of course he was.
How did he get to be that famous?
Well, I can only tell you what I heard from him, but apparently, after his parents passed away a couple of years ago, he fell into a rather deep depression. They were his only family, and his only source of encouragement, you see. He thought about giving up on his dream to become a designer. However, he
Yeah,
soon
'cause,
realized he'd be
Like, this is what I was saying. They're adding a little bit more backstory to some of the characters, like Coco and Overall, just to give their characters a little bit more to emphasize with.
Decided to enter a contest, one that would essentially guarantee a successful career in design should he win. And he did. Afterwards, his designs became well known all across Equestria, and he has since worked at Bridalway Theatre as his head costume designer.
What a touching story.
Wow. Overall must have been one strong stallion to not only overcome his parents' deaths, but also achieve his lifelong dream.
He was. If only he hadn't passed away himself, then maybe he could have helped me.
Well, maybe if you didn't kill him, he could have done so. You've no one to blame but yourself, defendant.
No! I didn't!
let's continue with the testimony, shall we?
Oh, he's really trying to break her.
Don't worry, Coco. I'm gonna get
This
you out
is
of this.
it's so hard talking about the death of someone really close to you, especially if you're accused of
And even offered to let me live with him in his
killing them.
apartment.
Hold it! Coco, how come you didn't tell me about any of this yesterday?
What do you mean?
Yesterday in the detention center, when I asked you about your relationship with Overall Concept, this is what you said to me.
Oh, it's nothing too serious, if that's what you're thinking. We were just good friends who liked working together.
Yeah, there was a lot more to
Teaching
that.
how to design better so I could one day make a design on my own for another play.
Like I say, I think it's because this information
At the time,
didn't
I
exist
took that to mean
before,
you were nothing more than coworkers.
but they found a way to
Was
work
I
it into
wrong
the
when I made
story.
that assumption? Coco? Coco!
What?
Did you purposely mislead me into believing you two were connected by nothing more than your work?
Maybe.
Why?
Because I was afraid that you wouldn't take my case otherwise.
Listen to how she's
What?
saying, like she's
Well,
almost
why would you think
whispering
that?
those lines because she's so afraid. And there's that face again.
Uh-oh. I don't like the sound of that. What in the world is Coco hiding from me?
I brought as much joy to him as he did to me, it seems. I don't know what I'm going to do now that he's gone.
Hold it! That's what every pony keeps saying. That you two seem to get along so well.
Yeah.
First Playwright, and then even Rarity said that you told her how happy Overall made you feel in your letters to her.
So what's the
Yeah,
motive?
We were really great friends. Everyone in the theater knew that.
So what's the
And
motive?
that's exactly why I'm so puzzled.
What do you mean?
You just said that you were afraid I wouldn't take your case if I knew the truth about your living arrangements prior to today. Coco, you must have known that I have heard nothing but positive comments about your relationship with the victim from those who knew you both. So why would you think I would hesitate if I knew you two were living together?
There's something else.
Oh, come now, attorney. The answer is so obvious, I'm surprised it's taken you this long to realize it.
If you know the reason, why not just say so already? Were you trying to establish some sort of motive with this testimony? Let's hear it then.
Very well. I would like the court to take a look at this.
What is this, Prince Blueblood?
It's a document that recognizes both Coco Pamel and Overall Concept as domestic partners.
Oh yeah, this is a
The two
really
entered
good
into this
detail.
partnership not long after they began living together.
Yeah.
And how is that relevant?
My attorney. Are you not aware of one of the primary aspects of a domestic partnership?
Yeah.
Sorry. It's, not my area of expertise, sadly.
And you call yourself a lawyer? What a joke.
Well,
Very well,
he does
I
have
shall
a point
explain.
there.
If a partner passes away intestate, that's without leaving behind a will for you uninformed
Right.
commoners, when they are in a domestic partnership, as Mr. Concept did, their partner will receive all of their assets.
Yeah, because when they were rewriting this, he needed to...
Oh, no!
Oh yeah, because he wanted to set
Yes.
something up with
Now
this.
you finally get it.
But
That
the only
is
issue...
why this poor, underpaid assistant costume designer murdered one of the most wealthy and well-known designers
Yeah,
in
he's setting up
Equestria
the motive that
to claim his assets
she wanted to...
for herself.
That the reason why he would want to kill him was to inherit those assets. Like when they were writing this, apparently he wanted to the writer, like Serenity, he wanted to set that up, or I don't know if it was the TheAlJavis, but like they wanted to set Serenity. Actually, it was Serenity. He wanted to set that up where his death would actually benefit Coco in some way. He wanted to have that sort of inheritive thing.
Phoenix!
But
What are we supposed to do now?
But the only issue was that he couldn't have them married because that would have interfered with the continuity of the show because Coco was never married in the show. So that's why they... So that's why he had to research it and he came up with the whole civil partnership thing.
Coco will be found guilty.
And yeah, this is a really difficult situation right now because now...
being supported very well by the victim. She didn't need to steal his money.
Yeah, but as he's about to exchange, it's not his.
Did I ever say she was after his money specifically?
It's not about his money.
What do you mean?
Recall what I said, attorney. She would inherit all of Overall Concept's assets. Assets, attorney. Like, for example, all of his fabrics and designs.
He thinks that. He thinks
money
that's
she
the
would inherit
motive.
Would be a nice bonus, and no doubt added fuel to the fire. But what Coco Pamel was really after were the victim's designs.
Why? Why would she need those?
During our investigation, we discovered that Miss Pamel had entered a fashion competition. The very same competition the victim himself entered a couple years ago.
And like I said, this has put him in a really tough situation because Coco didn't explain any of this to Phoenix. He wasn't able to prepare for it, and now he's been left in this really tough situation.
It is very prestigious, needing several background checks to even enter. Winning this contest is a big boost to one's career, as you can imagine.
What is it, Twilight?
I don't know. Something about that strikes me as important. I just can't put my hoof on it.
It goes without saying that a contest such as this would draw in several other keen fashion designers looking to rise to the top. With this much competition stacked against her, Miss Pamel was not confident enough in her abilities to win the contest.
And what brought you to that
It's
conclusion?
The defendant
speculation.
herself admitted as much. When we
That's
interrogated
true.
her about the contest, she told us that she did not feel confident about her chances of winning.
This is really.
Then surely
Yeah.
Overall would have helped Miss Palmel in making designs, or at least guided her.
But no.
Possibly. However, it's against the rules to seek direct help from some pony who has already won the contest.
Oh, and look, the
It's a
music sort of
preventative measure
transitioned
against
into this
copying previous victors'
more
work,
worrying
minor
tone.
alterations.
But she was learning from him. I'm sure Miss Palmel had the ability to do just fine in the contest.
Her actual level of competence is irrelevant. What matters is how she felt about her prospects of winning. Besides, I'm not finished, attorney.
What do you mean?
There's a special fabric the victim was making, as mentioned earlier by the previous witness.
It's looking
It
so
was
bad because
created as
everything is
fabric in secrecy
aligning.
for an upcoming play.
So why is this special fabric important in this case?
You should have connected the dots by now. Considering that Miss Pamel and Mr. Concept lived together for a number of months, she naturally would know about this special fabric. And just like you said, Miss Pamel was learning from him, so this was to her advantage.
You're really accusing Miss Palmel of cheating in this contest?
Cheating in the contest and betraying Overall Concept's
He is accusing her so much, even though that's absolutely not Coco's
You
character.
finally realized it. That is exactly why the defendant murdered Overall Concept. It was her chance at stealing his designs and passing them off as her own.
And
Twilight?
something's radiating with Twilight.
All means, say it.
On the night of the murder, the victim
Something
was
about
working on
stealing
that
designs
very
and
fabric.
passing them off as their own.
This, too, we heard from Mr. Playwright. That was probably what set the defendant off. Upon seeing the fabric, she made up her mind, once and for all, to murder the victim. She attacked him in the dressing room, but failed to land a strike. The victim fled out of the room with a fabric roll in his mouth, likely taken for the purposes of self-defense.
He's coming up with a
Miss
very
Pamel
solid
hung his
argument here.
The two were spotted by Mr. Playwright as they made their way up the stairs
And look,
to the catwalk.
he's explaining
Finally, as
everything.
Overall Concept reached the top, he tripped, dropping the fabric roll. The defendant caught up to him, grabbed the roll, and proceeded to knock him unconscious. Afterwards, she wrapped the rope that was laying on the catwalk around the victim's neck and threw him over the edge of the rail, finally killing him.
Yeah, like literally everything he's just explained
If it
just
weren't for Mr. Playwright
really,
immediately coming up the catwalk,
like everything
after
seems
murder,
to line up
she
so
may
well.
have gotten away with it, but she can't hide from her crime now, can she, Mr. Wright? And to think, this incredibly selfless
And-
stallion was planning on proposing
Oh, and listen
Coco,
to the...
and she stole his life away because
And-
of her own selfish desire.
What a twist.
Propose?
Prince Blueblood? What do you mean?
Right, this
Not
detail
employees regarding
here
overall concept
was
of Miss Pamel's relationship.
the
Many players employed
was
at
the icing on the
Theater
cake of such a
commented on how much
heartbreaking
he cared about her.
situation.
Apparently, he often said that being together with her made him even happier than when his parents were still alive.
And now he's just mentioning all this to like hurt her even more.
After another play, he even ordered this custom ring to give to her. I have it right here, Your Honor.
And
The police found it while they were investigating his
and
apartment.
if losing overall wasn't enough, now Coco finds out
He was going to propose to me.
like he wanted to marry her.
Cruel you really are.
And
You took advantage.
I mean, she's lost a very special pony to her. She finds out that he was actually going to marry her, and now now it sounds like that she's going to be going to going to jail because
Could she do something like that?
like I said, not just losing him, not just finding out he was going to marry her, but now she's going to be going to jail for supposedly killing him, and that is just so
Someone who looks
that is just so much to come down on poor Coco.
Looks are very deceiving. And what
And look, he keeps describing her as
soulless,
heartless,
man.
like she's nothing like, and Rarity can't take it anymore. She
Never do that to a stallion who cared about her.
like he
Why I oughta come out
like she has completely lost it.
Whoever that is out there, please refrain from shouting, or else you will be removed from
Like
the
it's
court.
just like when Coco Pamel's voice actor actually read it, like she found it so hard apparently to just keep quiet about it to other people. Like she wanted to scream, he was going to propose to her, and even when it was written in, he said like he put it into the script just because he thought it was cute. He thought it would be cute, and one of his
Where am I even supposed to begin?
and one of his friends said, "Cute, cute, it's freaking heartbreaking."
In that case, I think it's about time for me to pass my verdict.
Yeah, and now they're at this situation. Like there doesn't seem to
You
be
human attorney. You should have saved
like he's built up such a good explanation. Like everything lines up. He's established a motive. He's
Can't let it end like this.
like what do you do?
This court finds the defendant, Coco Pamel,
Objection!
who was that?
It was Twilight.
It was me, Your Honor.
Twilight?
Like now it's time for
Prosecutor
Twilight
Blueblood,
to
I want you
explain
to clarify
something.
for me.
Prince.
Blueblood.
Blue. Yeah, like
So
screw you.
Prince
I'm not
was
calling you
special fabric
Prince.
On the night of the murder, and that's what prompted her to go through with her plan to kill Overall.
Excuse me? You are to address me as...
Shut up!
Is that what you're claiming? Or
And look,
not?
this hoof slam. Like
Yes, that is what I am claiming.
we don't care if you're a
Can you
prince.
please show us the fabric you're talking about?
Surely you must have seen it for yourself.
This is
It was left sitting in the dressing room. But if you insist on seeing it again, I had it brought into court today. Here it is. Are you happy?
this is actually
Just as I thought.
What is
yes.
that supposed to mean?
She
I know
remember.
Mr. Wright can answer that for me.
Yeah, because they've seen what the fabric looks like when it's complete.
What she means, Prince Blueblood,
But look at
is
this.
that the fabric you presented to the court is not the special fabric that Overall made.
Yeah, exactly.
What? No, it has to be. Playwright confirmed it when we asked him. This fabric is what Overall was commissioned to make for the theater.
And let me rephrase my response.
Yeah.
True, that is indeed the special fabric Overall was working on for the theater that night. However, the fabric that you presented is currently incomplete.
Exactly. It doesn't have the forensic paint on it. She wouldn't have stolen it if it wasn't complete.
Order! Order!
Your motive has gone out the window.
What is the meaning of this?
Look, he's quivering in fear.
I believe that the defendant would have murdered the victim for a roll of incomplete fabric.
Exactly.
Then that's it. She must not have known.
No, you're contradicting yourself.
How is that possible? She and the victim not only worked together, but they lived.
Exactly.
There's no way she wouldn't have known what the fabric was supposed to look like.
Exactly. They were...
Well, maybe she thought she could finish the fabric on her own.
You just said she wasn't confident.
Let's test that theory then, shall we? Mr. Playwright.
Yes?
I recall you said something in your testimony earlier regarding the fabric Overall was working on that night.
He came on stage briefly to discuss something with me, and then he left right before the intermission ended. He said he and his assistant had to start working on coating a new sheet of fabric and paint.
If you don't mind me asking, what exactly was this paint?
It's what we've...
Fluorescent paint.
Fluorescent paint, exactly
The
like
fabric
what we
was
saw.
supposed to be covered in both that paint and a touch of glitter.
And what does that prove? Miss Pamel would have known that. You said so yourself.
It's not about whether or not she would have known about it, but whether or not she could gain access to it.
Yeah, exactly. They said...
What do you mean? She was going to inherit all of Overall's assets. The fluorescent paint and glitter would have been included in that as well.
True. She would have inherited whatever Overall had left. What about after she ran out?
What?
What then?
This fabric was meant to be used in the next play at Bridalway Theatre. Naturally, that means Coco would have had to make more if she intended on using it in the contest.
Ah, exactly.
Making more fabric means buying more paint.
Which is very
How is that an
expensive.
issue? She would have inherited all of Overall's money. Buying a few cans of paint would have been nothing.
Would it?
Not this paint, I'm afraid.
Explain yourself.
Will do.
Yesterday, when we were investigating the theater, Rarity, one of the most fashion-forward ponies in Equestria, had a few things to say about this fluorescent paint.
Fluorescent paint? Such a thing exists? Where can I get this paint? It might help with my business.
She wasn't aware of it.
I still wonder where he got this paint. It must have been awfully expensive.
If it's in such...
Especially since he used so much of it.
If it's in such short supply...
If Rarity hadn't even heard of the paint, let alone considered it to be cheap, then I doubt this paint is anywhere near as accessible or affordable as regular paint.
Yeah.
Even if Coco were able to find and buy some, do you really think she'd be able to do so before the contest deadline? Or spend that much of her newly earned money on a chance that the fabric would be good enough to win a contest? If she lost, she'd have a very hard time making that money back.
She wouldn't have risked it.
Objection! If you look at the fabric by itself, it's already relatively nice to look at. Even without all the bells and whistles the victim added to it, she could have just entered the base fabric itself into the contest.
Maybe so. But you can't deny that this evidence blows a hole in your theory that Coco killed Overall for this fabric.
Mr. Wright has a point, Prince Blueblood. The motive you proposed isn't very persuasive given this new information. Do you have anything else against the defendant that proves she committed this crime?
Of course, Your Honor. I have yet to produce the most damaging piece of evidence to this court.
Is that so?
So, we're finally going to see what he was talking about earlier.
Indeed, Your Honor. And I'll have Playwright explain what I mean.
Huh? Me?
Witness, when you found Miss Pamel on the catwalk that night, did you notice anything odd about her?
Well, as I said earlier, she seemed rather dazed.
And what about her hooves? Did you notice anything in particular about them?
Oh, that's right!
What is it, witness?
Miss Pommel's forehooves. When I discovered her on top of the catwalk, they were covered in glitter.
What?
Glitter. You can see Derpy and Dr. Hooves in the back there.
Defendant's forehooves were covered in glitter? glitter? What does this mean?
Allow me to explain, Your Honor. Recall that Miss Pamel and Mr. Concept were working in the dressing room prior to the crime. During the course of their work, the defendant must have gotten her hooves covered in glitter.
Oh! So the glitter marks on the fabric
roll.
Precisely, Your Honor. They were left behind by Miss Pamel when she used it to hit the victim.
Presuming that was the murder weapon.
This can't be.
And now the prosecution would like to submit our final piece of evidence. The noose.
The noose itself?
The court is no doubt aware of the fact that this is the noose used to hang the victim to death. Though I have yet to reveal a crucial detail concerning this noose.
Oh.
We have discovered that, just like the fabric roll, there are traces of glitter on it.
Traces of glitter?
Which means if her hooves were covered in glitter...
There was one pony on the catwalk that could have committed the crime. The only logical inference is that Miss Pamel is the culprit.
It would imply
knowing that she had glitter left on her hooves, and that there was glitter on both the fabric roll and the noose, it has become crystal clear that Miss Pamel was the one who knocked the victim out, wrapped the noose around his neck, and killed him.
Oh. His motive seems... His motive is weakened, but... But yeah, like, if she was... Like, if... Like, it's still... Even if the motive's weakened, there's no evidence that it was anyone else.
A guilty verdict is in order, Your Honor?
It would seem that way.
Objection!
But what about the motive? It's unlikely that Coco would have killed for a fabric that she had no reliable way of reproducing.
You're still obsessing over that? Perhaps she merely killed him for his other designs, or maybe just his money. The defendant has a laundry list of potential motives, attorney.
That's true.
That fact doesn't disappear by virtue of you pointing out that the completed version of the fabric was not at the theater that night, you know.
Wait a minute.
Besides, who can say for certain what was going through that demented pony's head that night? For all we know, the defendant may have a motive beyond our wildest imaginations. What matters, though, is that all of the evidence points to her as the one responsible for this crime. The glitter on her hooves, the fabric roll, the noose itself, and being found at the scene with no chance that any pony else had slipped away unnoticed. All of it points to
there was a reaction from playwright there, from what Blue Blood said. That's an important detail as well. Oh, Coco's gone there. Did you already get stepped down from the stand?
Mr. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor.
Prince Blueblood has presented a very convincing case, even if the motive is somewhat unclear at the moment. I'm afraid if you have nothing further to add, then I will have
because at the moment it doesn't look like there's any other pony who it could have been.
Do you have anything else to present to this court to counter the prosecution's claims?
Of course he doesn't. If he did, he would have presented it a long time ago.
Well, actually...
This is it. I mess up here, the trial's over. I need to present something that casts significant doubt over Blueblood's claims. I believe he may have unintentionally given me just what I needed.
Yeah.
Your Honor, I do indeed have something to present to the court at this time.
What? How could you possibly?
Now, Prince Blueblood. Save your surprise for after you've seen what it is Mr. Wright has to present. Mr. Wright, please present this piece of evidence to the court.
Yes, Your Honor. Take that!
Is that a torn piece of fabric?
Yeah.
Really? That's it? That's your big piece of evidence?
Well,
perhaps not in terms of its physical size, but certainly in the whole it'll create in your argument.
Yeah.
Cease your smug little remarks and explain.
Like, it's such a small thing, but it makes all the difference.
I want to hear that from Blueblood. Very well. We found this strip piece of fabric during our investigation of the stage. It was right below the center of the catwalk.
I fail to understand how this relates to anything discussed thus far.
Well, how about we let the one who requested the fabric explain it to us then?
Huh? Me?
Playwright, you were the one who asked overall concept to make this fabric, correct?
That's true.
Yes, we needed it for our next play.
For your next play, meaning none of the costumes for the play on the night of the murder used this fabric?
None of them.
That is correct.
Where are you going with this, Mr. Wright?
That role
Simply,
may be
Your Honor,
incomplete.
If the fabric wasn't being used on the night of the crime, then why did we find a piece of it on the stage afterwards?
Like, that fabric, that's part of a completed fabric.
That piece of fabric could have found its way there at any point. It's impossible for you to prove when exactly it wound up there.
Actually, there is.
Objection! I may not be able to prove the exact time it ended up on stage, but I can definitely prove it was after the play's intermission.
How?
Recall Playwright's testimony for a moment. He had this to say about what was happening on stage during the 15-minute intermission.
Well, they had to completely clear the stage of all the props, as well as any debris that would cause problems for the actors on stage. Mainly tripping hazards.
Mm-hmm.
The stage hoops had to...
Clear the stage.
No!
Mm-hmm.
If this piece of fabric had been on stage before intermission, it would have been cleared off by the time the second act had begun.
But it was there.
After all, there's no way Playwright would have allowed for anything less. Am I right, witness?
You striving for
Absolutely.
perfection has helped us
Out of
here,
the question
Playwright.
I would have let the play continue if something like this was still on stage. I mean, it could have distracted the audience or ruined the concentration of one of the performers.
So you see, Prince Blueblood, there's no way this piece of fabric was on the stage before the intermission.
Objection! The victim came on stage during the intermission to talk to Playwright about the fabric. It's possible he could have accidentally dropped that piece on the stage then, and it simply went unnoticed because the stage had already been cleaned.
Objection.
Sorry, but that's also impossible.
Why's that?
Let's go back to Playwright's testimony one more time.
He came on stage briefly to discuss something with me, and then he left right before the intermission ended. He said he and his assistant had to start
working on
a
it.
sheet of fabric and paint.
If you examine this fabric closely, you'll notice that it's covered in glitter. Not only that, but if we were to turn off the lights in this courtroom, I'm sure you'll realize that it's also covered in fluorescent paint. However, according to Playwright, Overall didn't start covering his fabric in paint until after he had come on stage.
Then, what does this mean, Mr. Wright?
This piece of fabric proves two things. The first is that someone brought it up to the catwalk during the second act of the play.
The catwalk?
Or
And what
cakewalk,
ridiculous
as we
train of
saw in the
logic are we
first
meant
part.
to bore to arrive at that conclusion?
Well, there's simply no other way for it to have landed on the stage, right? No one could have brought it to the stage directly without being seen. So the only conceivable option must be that it came from above.
Fine. And what's the second thing that piece of fabric supposedly proves?
Isn't it obvious? It proves that at the theater that night, there existed at least one sheet of overall special fabric that had been completed.
That's absurd.
And yet you claimed she was stealing, trying to.
Possible? I thought
like-
the police only found one sheet of the fabric, and it was the incomplete version.
Exactly.
Which can only mean that the other sheet was stolen from the theater that night. A third party must have escaped with it.
Yeah, so there was a complete version there, and yet he was claiming he killed her for the incomplete version.
There's no way a third party could exist.
And now we know that there was a roll. We know that it was stolen, which means that there was someone there who stole it.
Really proves that the completed fabric was there at the theater that night.
Yeah.
So why didn't the police find it?
Simple. The defendant had hidden it prior to the crime. She must have been planning to steal the one sheet of fabric all along. When Overall Concept saw that it was missing, that's when Coco attacked him. I suspect she hid it in a spot where none of us could even find it, which is why it is still missing even now.
That's impossible. The discovery of a piece of fabric on stage proves that it was out in the open somewhere.
Ah, yeah.
The stage was cleared in preparation for Act 2.
It wasn't
The
hidden.
fabric must have been taken either on or above the stage during the second act of the play. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this piece with us today. In fact, playwright, I need you to clarify something for me.
And what would that be?
After the crime occurred, was there someone watching the stage at all times?
Yes, there would always be some pony either on or watching the stage. The fabric would have been noticed if it was brought on stage at any given moment.
That settles it then. This indicates that the fabric had to have gone up the catwalk once the second act started, which means Coco couldn't have hidden the fabric beforehand. It must have gotten torn somehow, and a piece fell to the stage below.
Objection! You've forgotten that if some pony went up that catwalk with that fabric during the second act, they would have been spotted holding it by playwright or the stage hoops on the right wing of the stage. If that fabric glows in the dark, then it should have been almost impossible to miss. But none of the theater staff have said anything about seeing some pony carrying a glowing sheet of fabric up the catwalk.
That is a point.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you take the stage hoops out of the picture, playwright definitely would have noticed if the victim had been carrying that fabric.
Because it glows.
Then I'll propose another theory.
Another theory?
Playwright said in his testimony he only got a small glimpse of Overall running up the stairs.
Correct. And what of it?
Well, what if there was some pony ahead of Overall?
What if he missed
Then
the
playwright wouldn't have
real
been able to
thief?
see them, meaning a third party could have been involved from the start.
Yeah, and there's a reaction
Please,
again.
like that's even possible.
What do you mean?
If this third pony exists, then how did Miss Pamel not see them? If she was following Mr. Concept the entire time, there's no way the defendant would have missed this third pony escaping. At the very least, she should have seen them on the catwalk. Yet has she mentioned such a thing? No. So, how do you explain that, attorney?
Actually, it's quite simple.
Simple? This should be good.
When I spoke to Miss Pamel, she told me that she had been suffering from memory loss and headaches.
Ah.
I believe it's possible that during the crime, she was knocked unconscious by this third
Yeah,
party.
she did mention having a
And the headaches
headache
and
when
memory loss
Phoenix
was the side
spoke
effect
to
from
her.
her being knocked unconscious.
Do you really expect me to believe the nonsense you're spouting? You do realize that you're speaking for the defendant, right? She's obviously lying to save her own flank.
Well, that's a possibility,
If she
but
were hit on the head hard enough to leave a bruise, what makes you think that this incident happened that night and not the day before? And what kind of weapon would this mystery third party have used to knock her out? I demand you
remember,
show evidence
she
that
had
was
glitter
struck
in her
the
hair.
head the night of the murder.
Gladly. Here it is. Take that!
The fabric?
Yeah.
And how does this prove anything?
Before the trial started, we noticed that there was some glitter stuck in her mane.
yeah,
I believe this is the result of being struck by the fabric roll.
because she couldn't have been cleaned
How
up.
Equestria would that result in glitter getting stuck in her mane? Splinters and wood chips, maybe, but certainly not glitter.
Well, as you pointed out, there are traces of glitter on the roll. What if some of it ended up in Coco's mane as a result of getting hit with it?
Preposterous. The glitter on that roll came from when the defendant held her in her hooves to attack the victim.
Can you prove that that's the exact scenario that caused the glitter to end up on the roll?
Well, no. But how else could it have gotten there?
Let's stop and think about where this roll came from. The dressing room. I think it's
Yeah,
very
sometimes you gotta
likely that
really
the
listen
roll
to all
could
the
have gotten
details to
covered in
catch
glitter there.
everything, so I'm trying to not
What do you
speak over
mean,
everything.
right?
Here's what I think. Coco and Overall were working in the dressing room prior to the crime. During the course of their work, they must have scattered glitter around the table, where this roll may have been sitting. In fact, yesterday while I investigated the dressing room, I found a can of glitter that clearly showed signs of spillage,
Right.
sitting right next to the other roll of fabric. After this third party stole the sheet of fabric, they were spotted and ran off. Overall must have grabbed the nearby fabric roll as he gave chase, likely hoping to use it to stop the thief. However, once he reached the top of the catwalk, he tripped and dropped the roll. The thief took advantage of this and used the roll to knock out both Overall and Coco. who had followed her teacher up the catwalk in pursuit of the thief.
See, now he's
Sounds
explaining
absolutely ludicrous.
things.
Can you deny the possibility?
With ease. First off, even if this third party managed to make it all the way up to the catwalk without being spotted by Playwright, how would they have managed to get down without being seen by the stage host in the left wing? Not to mention, if the fabric roll left Glitter in Coco's mane, then why didn't it also leave Glitter in Overall's mane when he was knocked unconscious?
Maybe it wasn't.
Well, you see, that's...
Yeah, it couldn't have been the same.
You see, Mr. Wright?
It couldn't have been the same
Your theory
weapon.
makes absolutely no sense. It's inconceivable that a third party could exist, because there's no way they could have escaped without being spotted by Playwright or the stage hooves.
He's right. How am I supposed to prove that the third party was able to get away when the left side of the stage was being watched? And I don't even know where to begin with Overall's mane.
Excuse me, if I may interject.
Yeah, he's been reacting a couple of times to what Blue Blood's been saying.
Yes, I'd like to make a confession, Your Honor.
A confession?
I'd like to amend my statement regarding when I went up to the catwalk. I actually didn't go up immediately.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, this is actually...
Witness, what are you doing?
Yeah, this is quite a serious offence in court. Like, you can't give false information. If you lie in court, you can be prosecuted.
Before I went up to investigate, I called over my stage hooves from the right wing and my actors from the stage. I ordered them to attend to the panicking audience and try to calm them down. And I asked my stage manager to inform the police of what happened. After a good 5 minutes of giving my staff instructions,
yeah, so
that was when I decided to go up to
exactly. So he didn't chase.
Why didn't you share this
Exactly.
discrepancy earlier? This is crucial information.
It is.
It's not as if I intentionally wanted to withhold this information. Prince Blueblood
He told him not to share it. That's
he said it was irrelevant information.
irrelevant information. That is.
Why?
He was manip.
Prince Blueblood, you knew about this information?
And he was purposely withholding it because it would
I
be.
did not believe it to be important enough to
Yeah, he was
address.
purposely withholding it because.
You withheld this information because you knew it was detrimental to your case.
Exactly, he was trying to make sure, like, his thing would go flawlessly, and with that 5-minute gap,
But now it's possible that she's innocent, isn't it? I'll make sure to tell everything that I know from this point on. I promise.
As much as I would have appreciated it if you did that from the beginning.
yeah,
I am
this is a
glad
very
you are
serious
willing
offense.
to
Like,
tell
he
us
actually
everything.
manipulated a witness
Many
into
thanks,
giving
Your
some
Honor.
false information.
Witness, you ruined my perfect case.
It was not
After hearing
perfect.
What could be the truth, this is no
And
way
he would know a
perfection.
thing or two about
And I should
perfection.
know. I've
Exactly.
been striving for it all my life, only to come up short every time. But at least I can acknowledge that I can get as close to it as possible.
This information could be just what I need to move forward. Your Honor, we now know that there was no one near the left side of the catwalk after the murder. And that there was a 5-minute gap between the hanging and Playwright going up the catwalk. The possibility of a third party being involved is undeniable.
Yeah, because there was no one watching the left side, they could have made
I
an
do
escape.
believe this to be the case as well, Mr. Wright.
Objection! No, there's still a flaw in that claim.
What flaw?
I'll have you know the police interrogated every member of the theater and all 5,000 attendees in the audience. If this pony really escaped with the fabric, then why was their absence not discovered during the course of the investigation?
Well, the thief in question must have been someone who was not a part of the audience or the theater staff.
Exactly. They would have had to sneak
really?
in.
And how did they get in?
Through here. Take that!
The back door?
Exactly.
Precisely, Your Honor. They must have come through the back door of the theater without purchasing a ticket. I'm willing to bet that's also how they left the theater after they stole the fabric.
Stop suggesting that this third party exists.
Why?
I demand proof, filthy human.
I will say there is a little bit of a contradiction here because he said that there were stagehands on the left side
You should be careful
Eat
what you wish
for a lot
Prince
throughout most of Act 1 and Act 2, so if they'd snuck in, they probably would have been seen. That's a small oversight, but that's fine.
Take that.
A picture?
Ah, here we go. Now this is coming into a...
Take a closer look.
You know, when I watched this for the first time, I was wondering when on earth they were going to bring up these hoof prints.
Glowing hoof prints?
Excuse me?
Like I was just constantly saying, now they're gonna show it, now they're gonna show it, but
What a turn of events! Glowing hoof prints left behind
because it's a very solid piece of
It's not
evidence.
just the fact they exist. It's their path that tells a bigger story.
Their path.
Please explain, Mr. Wright.
The hoof prints start at the dressing room, right where we're proposing that this chase started. The hoof prints then lead up to the catwalk, just like how Playwright described in his eyewitness account of the chase. And finally, they lead down from the right side of the catwalk and out the back door of the theater. This path was not taken by anyone else involved in this crime. The existence of these hoof marks without a doubt proves that a third pony was there that night.
Objection! What kind of preposterous game are you trying to play, human? The police did not find any hoof prints of the sort during their investigation. This has to be false evidence.
It's not.
The court cannot accept this.
You're wrong. It's not a bad try, but no. He has got proof
Order in
that
the
they're
court,
real.
I say! Prince Blueblood. That is an extraordinary
Yeah,
accusation.
like...
I've known Mr. Wright for years.
Yeah, exactly.
And I had the misfortune of mistaking him for a crook once before. And thankfully, I was proven wrong. You're going to need some serious evidence to back up your claim if you continue with this assertion. Otherwise, I will hold you in contempt of court.
Yeah, good for you, Judge.
But Your Honor...
Like, it's a very serious offense to accuse someone of producing fake evidence.
Stood up for me against the prosecution. I'm actually quite flattered.
You see, it's just that the police didn't see these hoof prints during their investigation.
I believe the explanation for that is quite simple. Did the police ever turn off the lights during their investigation?
Yeah.
Of course not. Why would they?
Because they wouldn't have seen them unless they were in the dark.
The reason why the police couldn't see the hoof prints is because the only way to see them is by turning off the lights.
In that case, shouldn't the witness have been able to see them when he went up to the catwalk?
Well, why don't we ask him? Playwright, were these hoof prints on the catwalk prior to the second act?
No, there were no hoof prints to be found before the second act. The catwalk was dark during the operation, so they would have been impossible to miss.
That's an important detail.
What about when he went up there after the murder? Did you see them then?
No, I did not.
Then the answer is obvious. The hoof prints were made after the incident.
No.
Meaning that these glowing hoof prints have no relevance to this case.
You're wrong.
Actually, I think they do.
What?
Care to explain, witness?
Yes, it's true that I didn't see the fluorescent hoof prints after the murder, but there was a good reason why.
And what would that be?
The safety lights were on.
Exactly.
Safety lights?
The lights hanging above the catwalk. They seemed to be on the fritz yesterday. That's how we found those hoof prints in the first place.
Like, it makes sense that they would be turned on, because there'd be no reason to keep everything dark.
See what?
There's something glowing on the floor. Twilight, could you turn off the lights for a
They
second?
never saw them because they never turned off the lights.
There!
Huh? They're hoof prints. And they're glowing.
Impossible.
No.
Oh, right! Yes, we've been meaning to fix that issue, but I'm always getting so caught up in the plays we're performing that I guess I tend to forget about those sort of things.
So again, not exactly
Isn't in the
perfect.
greatest condition either, which is why we've had to tie the rope to the catwalk instead.
Not exactly the pinnacle of safety.
Yeah.
Especially not with a director like this around.
They're usually off during performances as well as during the second act. But when I went up after what had befallen, they were switched on, which means the hoof prints wouldn't have shown up.
But what about the rest of the backstage area? Even if you somehow explained why you weren't able to see the glowing hoofprints on the catwalk, why weren't the rest of the hoofprints discovered? If it was dark there, they should have been seen.
That'd be because I turned the backstage lights on
as well.
So you see, Prince Blueblood? These hoofprints could very well be connected to this case.
Then it is clear that these hoofprints belong to Miss Pamel.
What makes you think they belong to her?
She must have gotten her hooves wet with paint from working in the dressing room and chased the victim while her hooves were still wet. He likely turned on the safety lights when he fled so he could see where he was going.
But the prints go down from the right side of the catwalk.
Yeah.
And Playwright found Coco standing right above where Overall was hanged. Are you suggesting that she descended from the catwalk and then climbed back up?
She certainly had time to do so. After all, Playwright didn't immediately go up to the catwalk, now did he?
Oh, now he's using that to his
He's
advantage.
using my own argument against me. Do you have proof that these prints even belong to Coco?
Process of elimination, attorney. It couldn't have been any pony else. It certainly wasn't the victim. Otherwise, the trail would have stopped at the catwalk. Not to mention the fact that his hooves don't have any paint on them. And this third party you claim was there would have had no way to get their hooves dirty with the paint. So it could only be Miss Pamel.
And what if there existed a way to prove that those prints couldn't be hers?
I beg your pardon?
I certainly would like to see that, Mr. Wright. Tell me, how do you plan on proving that Miss Pamel couldn't have made those prints?
With this, Your Honor. Take that!
Is that
A forensic flashlight.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah.
But not just any flashlight. A forensic flashlight. This has the ability to show traces of fluorescent paint without needing to turn off the lights. If there are no traces of paint on her hooves, then that means Coco couldn't have been the one to make those hoof prints.
Very well. I permit the use of the flashlight.
Miss Pamel,
Oh, yes?
if I may, I'd like
Yeah,
to run
'cause
this
she hasn't-
forensic flashlight on your hooves.
She hasn't had the
Yes.
she hasn't had a chance to clean herself up, so the traces of them would still be there. And look,
Just as I thought. No traces
Nope.
of fluorescent paint at all. This means Coco couldn't have been the one to leave those prints behind.
objection.
You do realize she could have just washed her hooves to remove
No,
the
she
paint?
hasn't had the chance to.
Even if she wanted to, she wouldn't have been able to. The defendant had no opportunity to wash them after she was caught by Playwright and arrested.
That's why that glitter was in
Are
her
you
mane.
certain?
Prince Blueblood?
Your Honor, allow me to let you in on a little something about the night of the crime. It was raining.
Raining?
Think for a second. If Miss Pamel went out the back door with her hooves covered in this paint, then it could have all been easily washed off in the rain.
But there was still glitter on her mane and hooves. The rain would have washed those out as well.
It seems as if you've forgotten this little bit of testimony from Playwright.
Well, there was a small pile of glitter and a glitter-stained fabric roll next to Miss Pommel, but I didn't pay them much attention, really.
Right, and then there's something coming here that I found absolutely
The glitter Miss
outrageous
Pamel's
when I
mane
heard
and
it
on her
first.
hooves
Just
could
listen.
have been added after returning to the catwalk. She could have seen the pile of glitter left lying there, put some of it on her mane and hooves, and then simply touched the fabric roll to leave glitter marks on it.
See,
Do you even know what you're saying?
yeah, I was
right now?
like as big.
You're talking as if she replanted the glitter on herself on purpose.
Exactly.
Why would she want to frame herself for the
Like
crime?
he was claiming that
Give the illusion that a third party exists.
she would.
Of course.
It was crazy to me because he was claiming that she actually made herself.
Miss Pamel
Yeah,
realized that
hang
she
on.
would have been caught red-hoofed because of all of the remaining evidence pointing to her. So, making the best of a bad situation, she improvised, fabricating her own evidence to make it appear as if she had been
He was claiming that she was framing herself to look like a victim, so that suspicion would be taken off of her, and
Are you
like that
accusing
is.
the defendant of tampering with the crime
I mean,
scene?
and now he's exactly. See, like
Objection! That's ridiculous! Why would my client decide to fabricate evidence?
and make herself look
If she washed
guilty.
herself off in the rain, then that would already make her look innocent. What would compel her to put herself at risk
Exactly.
and go as far to mess with the crime scene?
Exactly.
I've already said it multiple times. It's to create.
You really think she'd have the foresight to come up with all of that? Like that, I was just losing my mind at how deranged he was sounding. Look, you really think she could have come up with that on the fly? Like really? In less than 5 minutes?
All of this to be possible. Though, admittedly, I'm rather curious as to what led you to this conclusion.
Your Honor, I am confident another theory can demonstrate to the court why I am right.
Another theory?
Like he was just
Very well.
absolute. It was crazy what he was claiming. Like claiming she was framing herself and making it looked like.
Outside to wash her hooves.
Make it look like there was a third party, and so
where she had initially
look
hidden it.
and
Heading back outside, she found a secure hiding spot
and look
where it wouldn't be found by
and
the
look.
police.
See,
As she was hiding the fabric, she tore off a piece of it as part of her ploy to create misleading
my
evidence.
goodness,
Lastly,
this is
she
so
ran
elaborate.
back to
Like
the catwalk
he
and
really
covered
believed
her
she would have had the thought to
also
do all
leaving
of
some
this.
traces of it in her maid. She then dropped the piece of fabric off the catwalk and left glitter marks on the fabric.
It was just so
This was
insane.
done to fool us into thinking that a third party had stolen the fabric, ran up the catwalk, killed the victim, and hit her on the head before escaping. Don't you see, human? You've fallen right into her trap.
He was claiming that, like how, like it's just too insane to even believe.
Preposterous. You're truly saying that the defendant forged evidence to make herself look innocent?
And by making herself look guilty
I can see
first.
right through her little tricks.
Like she
And
thought
this filthy human
she was
fell
all
for
set.
it.
It was set up by her.
There has to be something I'm missing. Something that proves Coco didn't do anything that Blue Blood is suggesting. Do you have
Like
something,
again,
Twilight?
I was just losing it. I could
You've been
not
quiet
believe
for a
what he
while
was
now.
claiming.
Thought of something?
It was just too crazy.
Sort of.
Well, do you think
I guess a possibility, but still crazy in the time given the
Well, I
given the
think
time
so.
frame.
Really? What is it?
Think about where the paint came from.
And once again,
The dressing room?
Twilight's suggesting
Yes.
something.
You said that a third party could have also been in the dressing room to steal the fabric.
That's what I suggested.
Let's assume what you said is true. If they were just trying to get the fabric, then how would their hooves get wet with the paint? And we can't say that it was from the paint can since there were no spills anywhere when we went in the dressing room.
So, what do you think could have happened?
Do you remember what Playwright said?
The intermission started at around 8 o'clock and it ended at 8:15. The second act would have run from then until 9 o'clock if Overall hadn't been murdered.
Did you see Overall at all during the intermission?
Actually, I did. He came on stage briefly to discuss something with me, and then he left right before the intermission ended. He said he and his assistant had to start working on coating a new sheet of fabric and paint.
If we consider that, and recall what Athena said during the investigation...
Athena, how long does it take for fluorescent paint to dry?
According to Junie, it takes about an hour.
If Overall and Coco started coating the fabric and paint during the intermission, which lasted from 8 o'clock to 8:15, and the murder occurred at 8:50...
That means that the sheet of fabric Coco and Overall were working on was still drying when the crime occurred. That's how the third party could have left those hoof prints.
Not just the hoof prints. There's something else.
Something else.
Yeah.
You claim Coco was knocked out from being hit with the fabric roll, right?
Yeah, she still has glitter stuck on there from that night. That doesn't explain why there are no traces in Overall's mane, though.
Exactly! The only traces of glitter he had were on his forehooves.
So, what are you suggesting? That this third party hit Coco on the head with the fabric roll and then hit him with something else?
If some pony else was indeed present at the crime scene, I think it's safe to assume that they must have brought their own weapon ahead of time. They could have also used that to hit Overall without leaving anything behind on his head. It's the only scenario that fits.
Okay, but what about Coco? She clearly had glitter left in her mane. Did the third party take the fabric roll from Overall after knocking him out?
I don't think so. In fact, I'm not entirely convinced that Overall was the one who brought the fabric roll up to the catwalk in the first place. Playwright didn't actually see Overall carrying the fabric roll after all. We just assumed that he must have because we thought he and Coco were the only ones to go up there.
But now that it's possible that the third party was running ahead of the two, they might have been the one to bring the fabric roll up to the catwalk instead.
Right! And if they had their own weapon with them, then why would they have brought the fabric roll?
Well, the only reason I can think of is because it had the fabric they wanted on it. Aha! Of course! Thanks, Twilight.
Nice
Mr.
job,
White,
Twilight.
Do you have anything to refute Prince Blueblood's theory?
There is.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
I'll tell the truth,
Really?
I had a hard time
sincerely doubt
following all that, but
Enlighten me, human.
yeah.
What will you pull out of that spiky head of yours this time?
A pointy quill that will poke a hole.
Pointy
in the theory.
quill.
You suggested that this whole thing was fabricated by Miss Palmel to make it look like she had been framed. Not only can I prove that to be false, but I can also demonstrate that a third party was behind the whole crime.
Then please explain to the court, Mr. White.
We're under the assumption that the hoof prints were made from the paint from the dressing room. While that might be correct, the source of the paint is what I believe changes everything.
And what would this source be?
That would be the fabric roll.
Really?
Where are you going with this?
I'm getting there, Blue Blood. Just bear with me for a moment. Now, when this third party stole the special fabric from the dressing room, it still must have been wet from the paint.
And how do you know that?
Fluorescent paint takes at least 1 hour to dry completely. Overall and Coco started painting the fabric during the play's intermission. This means if we don't take into account the time taken to actually coat the fabric, the earliest that the fabric could have been completely dry is sometime between 9 o'clock and 9:15.
Yeah.
Since the crime occurred at 8:50, and there were no other completed versions of the fabric found at the theater, the only remaining possibility is that whomever stole the fabric must have taken the one that had recently been painted, meaning it was still wet when they stole it.
So what? How does this prove anything?
You'll see in a second. No need to rush me.
Because if it was
Now,
still wet, there'd
the
be
thief was
traces
likely
on
unaware
the...
that the fabric was still wet when they stole it. Because of this, they got their hooves covered in paint, causing them to leave the trail of footprints.
How long do you plan on continuing with this assertion of there being a third party? I've already shown how unlikely it is that they even exist. Why do you insist on prattling on about such an insane theory?
Yours is even
Let
more
me
insane,
finish,
mate.
Prince Blue Blood. I'll show you just how sane it is. Now, when this third party stole the fabric, I initially assumed it was a sheet that they collected and placed in a bag that they had on them. However, I'd like to amend this theory.
Amend?
So what's your new theory then, Mr. White?
The fabric this third party stole wasn't a completed dry sheet laying on the table. Instead, I'm positive that the fabric was simply laying out to dry, and the third party rolled it up in a nearby fabric roll to collect the whole thing. They were stealthy for the most part, but eventually, either due to the noise they made, or just bad luck, the thief was caught right as they were about to leave. They took the rolled up fabric in their mouth and ran away up to
That's where your ponies
with
usually
Coco
carry
overall
things in a
his
mouth if they don't have
And I
magic.
suppose you're going to say that both of them were knocked out by this third party as soon as they reached the top of the catwalk? Nice try, but if that were the case, our victim would have some glitter in his mane as well, wouldn't you agree?
I do, actually. But that's not my main point here. The thief could have easily used a different weapon on Overall when they attacked him. It's the weapon that knocked out Coco that will destroy your theory of her fabricated evidence.
Exactly.
A weapon?
As has been well established and demonstrated, Miss Palmel currently has glitter in her mane.
Yeah.
This suggests that she was struck on the head with the fabric roll. And now that I've shown the possibility that the roll actually had Overall special fabric on it at the time, we have a much more likely scenario for how it got in Coco's mane. It came from the fabric that was on the roll.
In what way does this disprove my theory, Defense? Besides, you've not done enough to prove that the fabric roll ever had any of the special fabric on it.
That's next on the agenda, actually. Now, if the fabric was still wet at the time, that would explain how the third party got their hooves covered in paint and left behind a trail of hoof prints. And if that is the case, something else would have also been left behind.
Oh? And what is that, Mr. Wright?
No!
He's realised.
If Coco was struck on the head with the fabric roll when the fluorescent paint was still wet, then not only would glitter be left over, but there would also be
traces of fluorescent paint on her head.
As well.
What? But what does that mean?
It means that not only was the special fabric really on the roll at the time of the crime, but it also means that Coco couldn't have gone outside to hide the fabric or wash her hooves. Because if she did, the glitter and the paint would have both been removed.
Exactly.
Objection!
If
she could have just reapplied it like she did with the glitter.
Wrong.
Objection! Playwright and his employees were standing in the right wing after the murder. Coco couldn't have made it to the dressing room to get more paint to put on herself without being spotted.
Exactly.
Objection! That's assuming that Miss Pamela was struck in the first place. How about you show me that she was actually struck by the roll?
I'll do just that. By using the forensic flashlight again on Coco on the area where the glitter is still on her. Miss Palmel?
Yeah.
I've heard everything, Mr. Wright. Please go ahead and do what you need to do.
So if... There it is. So she couldn't have gone outside.
Just like Mr.
Because
Wright
otherwise
said.
that would have been washed off.
No!
Yes.
As the court can see, this evidence proves that not only could Miss Palmel not have been the one to steal the fabric or kill Mr. Concept, but also that without a doubt, this third party is the
True culprit. Duh. So there was a thief.
Order! Order in the court! But Mr. Wright, if this is true, then who is responsible for this murder?
Yeah, now that's the next step.
No. This was not supposed to happen. Human!
So what?
What is it?
Even if this third party somehow exists, you have no idea who it could be. And where in Celestia's name would we even begin to look? It could be anything.
That's a fair point.
Then maybe I can make a suggestion.
Oh.
What would that be,
Twilight's coming through again.
Blood argued that Coco wanted the fabric to herself to get a better chance to win a fashion competition she's participating in. Correct?
Man, Twilight, you really have been a great
Well, you
co-counsel.
just asked to narrow down our search of the mystery third party. If we're looking for some pony who'd want a fabric enough to kill for it,
Yeah.
why not start with the other contestants of the fashion contest? While we're at it, we should try to find out if any of them have any connection to any pony directly involved in this case.
Who do you think you are, ordering me around like that?
I remember you mentioning something earlier, Prince Blue Blood, that the contest is not particularly large and has several background checks.
Yeah.
Those checks
So that narrows down the number of ponies it could potentially
You
be.
have forgotten that Coco Pamel is the only pony who could have known that this special fabric even exists.
That may be the case right now, but I would still like the records of all the hoof prints and horseshoes of every pony in that fashion contest. If they match with the fluorescent hoof prints left behind, then I say that's all the proof we need to show that there was indeed a third pony at the scene of the crime.
I agree with Miss Sparkle. I presume this can be done relatively quickly.
Shouldn't take long, Your Honor.
Very well. I shall grant a 30-minute recess to have the police run an analysis to determine if any of the hoof prints of the contestants match the trail left behind at the theater.
I don't believe this. How could I have let this filthy, spiky-headed human get away with this?
Court is adjourned.
Right then. So that's it for the. That's almost it for the first bit. I mean, they've managed to prove that there was potentially a third party there who could have stolen the fabric and committed the murder.
Whew, that was a little intense.
But now it's a case of just finding out who was responsible.
My heart couldn't take that.
Yeah, you were practically screaming in their rarity.
I'm so happy you've been able to help Coco.
We're not done yet.
Yeah.
though. I may have proven that someone other than Coco could have done it, but she hasn't
That's
received the
true.
acquittal yet.
This is still her
Still got
trial,
a long
after
way
all.
to go.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, Miss Palmel.
Coco, you don't need to worry about a thing anymore. Phoenix is on his way to kick that prince's sorry flank, and you'll be out scot-free.
Yes, I'm very grateful, Mr. Wright.
Yeah, she's still not feeling too good.
Why the long face, darling?
What the prince said about Overall, that he planned to propose to me, was that true?
Oh, she's still...
Well, you always said in your letters that he cared a lot about you. So it wouldn't surprise me if he took it to the next level. And, well, I was supposed to keep it a secret, but it wasn't too long ago that
she
he
knew.
requested me to look for a special gem for you. He said he wanted the gem to match your
Aw.
eyes. So from it, he fashioned a ring.
That is just so
He said that
sad.
about me.
I'm almost
He
starting
wanted to
tearing up.
propose to me. It's a beautiful ring. I would have happily said yes.
Oh, there, darling.
It's so tragic. Like, he was gonna ask to marry her, and now he's gone.
Overall would not want to see you like this.
I mean,
Keep shining
it
bright
really
like
is a
that.
credit to the to Serenity and the writing team just
Overall
to
wouldn't wanna
add
see me like this.
just to add this in.
You have to be strong for him and
And
for me.
and you have to give credit to Coco's voice actor as well.
I'm glad
She
you're feeling
really
better.
does make you feel for her.
Thanks, Mr. Wright. I wouldn't be here without you.
Actually, while you're here, I'd like to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah, we have to.
Oh, of course.
We need to
Go
address the
ahead.
elephant in the room here.
Since we started discussing the events that you were involved with on the night of the murder, have you been able to remember anything else?
Well, yes, actually. It was a bit slow, but I've been regaining my memories as the trial was going on.
Anything at all will help greatly.
I remember that Overall and I had been
Aw.
working on the special fabric in the dressing room during the second act of the play. We had just finished coating on the true rolls of fabric with the fluorescent paint once the second act was nearing its conclusion.
So we were right. The fabric that was stolen was the one you two had been painting.
Yeah, we set it out on the table to dry. After that, I stepped out for a minute to wash my hooves of the glitter and paint.
Yeah, that
You
I
left
take
the room?
I take it that was behind
Yes,
the stage.
Only for a few minutes.
There is some space like behind the actual stage where you can actually walk across
And taken advantage of that
to the other side.
So, what happened after that?
Well,
There's
while
not
I
always
was
necessarily a
returning to the dressing
catwalk.
room, I saw Overall sprinting out the door. I called out to him, but he didn't answer, so I followed him. I saw him running up the catwalk, and I was afraid that he would hurt himself up there because it was so dark.
So she was actually
So I
she ran
quickly
up because she was concerned for him.
To follow. On the way up the stairs, I heard a loud clicking noise.
There's that
I
clang
ran as
thing
quick
again.
as I could to see what happened, and that's all I remember.
Playwright mentioned a clang too, if I recall. That must have been when Overall was struck on the head with that unidentified weapon. What could it have been? Something metal? What about after you regained consciousness? Do you remember anything after that?
I do. After I woke up, I saw that there was an empty fabric roll in my hooves, which were, for some reason, completely covered in glitter once
Oh yeah,
again.
so she washed
The
her.
fabric roll was left in your hooves, and the glitter reappeared?
Like, so
Sure,
maybe
you washed all of the glitter off of yourself.
so maybe someone was trying to
I'm
frame
sure
her.
Mr. Wright. I don't know how the glitter got on my hooves again, and I'm not sure how this empty fabric roll ended up where it did either.
I see. Better make a note of that.
Again, always updating the evidence with any new information they get.
Is there anything else you can tell me?
Not that I know of. Everything
Everything else happened exactly as playwright testified. They stayed with me until I was taken away by the police. As soon as I got to my cell, I shook the glitter off my hooves as best I could.
I see. Well, hopefully what you do remember will be useful in some way.
I hope so, Mr. Wright.
Now, Twilight, I have a question for you.
What is it, Phoenix?
I'm curious as to why you're so sure that the third pony from the incident was a contestant of this fashion.
Because she knows her personally.
Don't understand how anyone else in the contest would have known about the fabric. And just because they could possibly have a reason to steal the fabric for themselves, it's still not exactly a concrete conclusion, even if it did help us out.
I understand your uncertainty, Phoenix. I'm pretty sure all the contestants would be confident in their own ability to win. However, there is one particular mare that we know that would do whatever it took to win.
Yeah, you actually met her.
Oh,
Briefly.
Surrey Polo Mare.
Yeah.
Whoa, the mood turned rather quickly there.
Yeah.
Surrey Polo Mare. Huh. Who is she?
You recall when Rarity bumped into that one mare during yesterday's
Yeah,
investigation?
that was
Oh, that pony? I remember now. So, her name is Surrey Polo Mare. What does she have anything to do with the case?
well, if you know about their
Do you remember what she
history.
said back then?
I've no time to waste on you, Rarity. I'm on a tight schedule, so you better stay out of my way. I don't want another victory taken away by your hooves, okay?
Yeah, she even mentioned Rarity taking away another victory. What did she mean?
This is going back to
I believe I can
season
explain.
4.
Please do, Rarity.
Several months ago, I was involved in a similar fashion contest to the one Coco entered. And Surrey was a contestant as well. I had my own special fabric, and she was enamored by it. So I let her use the fabric for small touches on her own designs. She ended up using my entire fabric and claimed it as her own. Despite that, I managed to beat her. But I didn't know that I won until Coco told
And
me.
it actually caused some strain with her friends. Because she had them working on her new designs.
Wait, are you saying
New
it was
designs
Surrey?
and work them like a labour force and cause them to actually miss a performance of Hinny of the Hills.
Fabric. Instead of making the dresses herself, she made me do it.
But then they made up at the end
It
with a
was
special
excruciating.
with
And
a
that
special
part of
private
Rarity not knowing that
performance.
she won the contest until I told her. Surrey was the one who lied to Rarity and her friends and made me keep quiet about it too.
Yeah.
Oh, so earlier in the trial,
Yeah, this is what.
did you really have so little money that you could barely afford a place to live?
Yes, especially after equipping an assistant to my mentor. She always made enough for both of us with
With my.
the designs she sold.
Yeah, they weren't Surrey's designs.
Surrey is a great designer, but when it came to whose work she would sell, she almost always chose to sell designs I had made over her own. She didn't even have the courtesy to mention that they weren't hers.
Wow, this pony sounds so selfish.
Oh, she is.
I know, right? Not giving some pony proper credit and stealing to boot. Ah, she has absolutely no dignity.
But do you think she would actually go as far as murder?
Would she?
I don't know. I don't think she's that heartless.
I mean, she'll do a lot to get what she wants, but would she actually go so far as to actually kill someone to get what she
Hopefully
wanted?
the
It's a
Hook Friend
serious
analysis will
crime.
give us the answers we need.
The trial is about to resume. Will the defendant and her attorney please return to the courtroom?
It looks like they've already finished their investigation. Let's hope we don't get any bad news from this.
Hold up, Twilight. There's still one more thing I want to talk to Coco about.
Huh?
Yeah,
What is it?
here's the other thing I was mentioning.
Coco, you hid your true relationship with Overall from me on purpose, didn't you? I want to know why.
After working with Surrey for so long, I began to believe in her philosophy.
The idea that it's every pony for themselves in the big city.
Uh-huh. I encountered so many ponies like that while working with Surrey that eventually I just started to believe it was true.
I could understand that.
It wasn't until Rarity came along that I realized there were ponies out there who put the well-being of others before themselves.
But what does this have to do with why you hate your relationship with Overall?
Even though I now know there are selfish ponies out there, it doesn't change the fact that there are many who do think and act selfishly, and assume the same from others. That's why I thought it would be better if you didn't know the truth about us. I was worried that if you did, and realized what it meant, you'd have noticed how strong motive I had to kill him, and wouldn't have taken my case as a result.
Yeah, so she was concerned.
You said something similar yesterday, I believe.
Well, you were in the area where he fell. Still, just because you were at the scene of the crime, it doesn't mean you did it.
I know, but everybody who saw me thought I did it.
Rarity doesn't think you did it. She certainly believes you wouldn't have the heart to kill.
I mean, if you were to if you really know Coco, like, she would never
do it.
She just...
It's not enough to convince every pony else.
Like, she just would never have it in her, given the kind of pony she is.
Everyone was giving you while you were being arrested. And that's why you thought you had to hide the truth from me.
Yeah.
She thought no one would believe her.
Because of that, Coco, we were put in a very tough spot. I was completely unprepared to argue against Blue Blood's assertions. It was only because of Twilight's quick thinking that we managed to escape a guilty verdict there.
I'm sorry.
I wonder if this is almost like representing like the TheAlJavis here, like he was doubtful that people would agree to come on and help him with his project because he wasn't sure if what people would really think of him, like if they would support him. But like I said, they believed in his project. They were passionate about him.
To believe in us and tell us everything they can, so we can make the truth known.
You would have trusted Overall with the whole truth, right, Coco?
Of course.
Of course she would have.
Then you must do the same for Mr. Wright. He and Twilight are both trying their hardest to help you.
Trust in me, Coco, and I promise I will believe in and fight for you until the bitter end.
Daddy will.
Okay, Mr. Wright. I trust you.
This
From
music.
now on, I'll tell you everything I know about the murder.
Thank you, Coco.
It's important to share all information, even if you're worried it could make you seem guilty.
Case by being late.
Right. Let's go then. Hopefully we can.
Yeah, I mean they did call you a little while ago. You need to get in there. And that's it. That's the end of the second episode there. And again, we're just going through these. You can see some of the new voice actors, including Wobcake as Twilight Sparkle. Like she's voiced her in quite a lot of fan-made projects. Like she's very well known to be the voice of Twilight in those kinds of projects. Yeah, and like I said, again, these are just some basic closing credits, and but eventually, like they become a lot more elaborate for later ones. I think even the credits for the next episode are actually a lot better because, like I said, they show some of the artwork that actually, that actually someone made for them, like those flashback still shots. All that artwork that you see in black and white, it is in color, and they do focus on that in the credits as well. Yeah, fan-made sequel to Neo Artemis original series, Turnabout Storm, and obviously all these things. Again, I'm just making sure that these credits play just so I have the same credit information as well. And yeah, guys, so there you go. That is the second episode of Elements of Justice Turnabout Theatre. And yeah, so as you can see, the video is a lot longer than the investigation portion, and it's got everything that I said, like twists in the story, the emotional moments, and yeah, like I said, I feel like Serenity really did do things for the best, like when he told the TheAlJavis like some work on the script needed to be done, because if it had gone out as it was, like apparently it was actually so short that the trial section actually would have concluded in just one episode. Like, I don't know how long it would have been, but it would have been concluded in just one episode. But with all the work that they did to like extend like the characters and the motivation and everything else, like it was they ended up having to extend it into 2 parts. So yeah, we will see the final part of this particular case in the next episode. But yeah, like I said, the trial sections, they really are the most engaging parts. Like you really invest in all the emotions that the characters are feeling. You can be absolutely shocked by the twists and turns. You can feel really tense when it seems like the situation is hopeless, and all it takes is just one tiny bit of evidence that can actually change everything around. And that's just what makes Elements of Justice and the Phoenix Wright games, so engaging and just so enjoyable. And that's and that's really what I love about this. Again, like I said, Elements of Justice is one of the reasons why I wanted to start making reaction videos in the first place, because of just how engaging they were, and what they were making me feel and think about. And so yeah, that's all I've got to say, really. An absolutely amazing episode. It's very clear to see where the different influences of having a team could actually manage to help. There's obviously still some things that need improving, like I say, with the animation, like you can see with the poses of some of the characters, and how the human vectors look and everything. But yeah, as I said, as the series would go on, things would continue to improve. Like, literally, the series just gets better with every part, and especially with the conclusion to this particular case in the next episode. It really did feel like a satisfying conclusion. It really was in TheAlJavis's benefit that he did get a team together, that he was able to make these improvements and bring out something that we could all really be proud of, really. This definitely would never have been completed anywhere near the quality that it was if he had just been working on the trial section alone. And if you think about how short the first part was compared to how long this video was, if he had done all of that by himself, who knows when he would have been able to release it. The trial sections certainly take a lot more work, a lot more editing, but thanks to his team, he was able to bring us this part and he would just continue to improve with every part. And I'm just really excited to share all of that with you and just show you just what I think about the series and just how well it keeps improving and how engaging it really is. But anyway, yes, so that's pretty much all I've got to say, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. Be sure to check out some of the other videos that I've done for this channel and some of the others on Elements of Justice as well. If you like this video, leave a comment, share, subscribe, and yeah, so just thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you all in the next video that I do. So until then, stay tuned.